Chapter 294. The smoke curled up and the wooden fish struck. Divine Jizi angrily pushed open the door, his face as dark as the bottom of a pot. The old monk stopped striking the wooden fish and looked at his old friend. I told you to wait and see, but you just had to be so impatient. Did you get frustrated? He's a bastard, Divine Jizi said with a bitter smile. I can't even talk to him normally. Which one of his words is serious? He's not a bastard. If he really was a bastard, why would we follow him for so long? The old monk shook his head. He's a smart person, too smart. He just used this bastard method to reject our request. Think about it, based on our many days of observation and understanding, has he really done something that we find unsightly? You mean he knows why we came, but he just doesn't want to be on the same path as us. He doesn't want to take on this responsibility, the old monk sighed. He's still young, still in the playful stage. Who would want to carry such a burden? Passing on the culture, protecting the dragon soul, these words sound easy to say, but it's hard to do. Someone has to do it, Divine Jizi said regretfully. There are still a few outstanding people in our generation. These youngsters, there has to be a few people who stand out. Didn't he already stand up? The monk said with a smile. He teaches and educates people traditional Wuxia culture. Facing the challenge of the Japanese sword god Chiba, he didn't back down. Didn't he already stand up? What's missing is just a ceremony. We just need to be patient and give them more time. I think these kids won't let us down. Who knows, they might even do better than us in the future. Wu Jizi nodded and said, Is he really the fated one? What? The divine fortune teller? Divine Jizi is starting to doubt his own eyes? This kid is a bit strange. Just sitting with him makes me easily angry, violent. Even the Lao Tzu cleansing mantra can't suppress it. Because you care, the monk said. If you don't care, why are you so angry? In your hands he is the most suitable inheritor of the Tai Chi painting, right? You think too highly of him, so you're more concerned about gains and losses. I almost wanted to squeeze his neck and force him to accept this task. Tian Jizi laughed heartily. However, it's impossible for this kid to escape from my grasp. You planted another seed? I just used our Taoist secret technique. Spring comes to withered wood in front of him. He stood outside the wall but couldn't enter. I think he would be interested in this. Amit Ba, you two continue to fight. Who knows, we might end up as a family, the monk said with a smile as he struck the wooden fish again. Talk. Fang Yen was very frustrated. He locked himself in his room, boiled a pot of water and poured it into a teacup. He held the teacup full of water in his hand and used the suction technique of Tai Chi to suck away the steam inside the teacup. The boiling water that had just been boiled immediately became cold water. He once again infused Qi into the teacup. The cold water slowly froze, then became a snow-white ice cube. He flicked his sleeves at the teacup. A scorching force blew through the mouth of the teacup, and the ice cube instantly melted into water. It was a simple cup of cold water. Fang Yen painfully banged his head against the wall. What's missing? What's missing? Fang Yen couldn't understand. Why did the same cup of ice melt with a flick of his sleeves and turn into hot tea? Why couldn't I do it? Why did I only get a cup of cold water when I melted the ice? This was the obstacle of consciousness. It was also called the critical point. From point A to point B was only separated by a thin wall. As long as one opened a door, they could jump from point A to point B. But where was that door? Don't underestimate this thin wall. Many times, it could trap a genius in the same place for the rest of his life. Fang Yen was walking on a road that no one had ever walked before. Or rather, someone had walked on this road, but he didn't know who, so he had no experience to learn from. He asked the old drunkard, and the old drunkard told him to explore it by himself. The road ahead was long, and he was also in the stage of exploration. Fang Yen could feel that he was the same kind of person as the old drunkard, and also the same kind of person as Yiro. However, Tian Jizi obviously stood at a higher level, a higher position. He could give him guidance. Fang Yen really wanted to grab him and ask him, "What's going on with me now? Why did the state of Tai Chi become completely incomprehensible and unfamiliar to me? What's its final form? What's my goal? What should I work toward?" Zhang Chen wanted to practice Qi by force, so he had his own confusion. Fang Yen also had Fang Yan's troubles. Fang Yen could answer Zhang Chen's questions, but few people could answer Fang Yan's questions. There were too many unanswered questions in his heart. and every answer was incomparably important to him. If Tianjizi could help him solve the problem, not to mention calling him master, he could even call him godfather. Other people could call him godfather for a bit of money, so what was wrong with him calling him godfather for the sake of his supreme pursuit of martial arts? Fang Yan really didn't mind. Bang, bang, bang. He knocked his head on the wall again and again. He really wanted to know, what did he do wrong? What did he lack? Bang, bang, bang. The sound of his head hitting the wall came again. Fang Yan looked at his head in confusion. It hadn't hit the wall. Someone was knocking on the door. Fang Yan walked over and opened the door. Jiang Qin was standing at the door in a nightdress with a smile. Fang Yan looked at Jiang Qin and asked, "Why aren't you sleeping?" "I can't sleep. So I came to chat with Mr. Fang," Jiang Qin said shyly. It was a little embarrassing to stand in front of his teacher in the middle of the night. "I'm already asleep," Fang Yan said. "Let's talk tomorrow. Hurry up and rest. We have to get up in a few hours to film. The next scene will be the scene of the sun rising. You have to rest well and show your most beautiful posture to the audience." Jiang Qin looked a little wronged, but he tried to smile and said, "Okay. Good night, Mr. Fang." "Good night," Fang Yan said with a smile. Jiang Qin turned around and left. He entered his room and closed the door. The door of the room next door opened. He stood at the door with a cardigan sweater over his pajamas. "She's sad," Xia said. "I'm also doing this for her own good," Fang Yan said. "One day she'll understand your painstaking efforts," Xia said. "She'll be glad to have a teacher like you." "It's late. Go to sleep," Fang Yan said. He waved at Xiaji, then turned around and entered his room. Xiaji stood at the door and looked at the closed door of Fang Yan's room in a daze. This man, what kind of man is he? Because the entire crew lived on this floor, he refused to let students enter his room. He was worried that some people would see it and bring trouble to Jiang Qin. The entertainment circle was a circle of right and wrong. A small joke like Jiang Qin knocking on the door of a male teacher's room in the middle of the night might seem inconspicuous now, but when she really became famous, those hidden monsters would jump out and bring her a lot of trouble. Fortunately, he was very sober. When Xiaji saw Fang Yan for the first time, it was the scene of Fang Yan standing under the rising red sun and playing Tai Chi. Therefore, she stubbornly believed that it was the most beautiful scene and that such a scene must be included in her MV. Thus, the whole crew got up early the next day to shoot the sunrise. The two little girls, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, were in very good spirits. They took the initiative to help distribute lunch boxes to the staff of the crew. Fang Yan paid special attention to Jiang Qin and was relieved when he found that there was no abnormality. After all, she was just a child. Her mood was bad and good faster. After a night's rest, she probably couldn't remember what happened yesterday. Seeing that Xiaji was looking at them, the two looked at each other and smiled. The shooting plan was temporarily modified. They still shot the scene of the rising red sun, but the shooting location was not in the slightly flat sky, but in the Tiger Leaping Gorge. Song Gu thought that the terrain there was higher and the location was steeper. If it was filmed there, it would give people a more beautiful and three-dimensional feeling. More importantly, he was going to let Fang Yan do Tai Chi on the left side of the Tiger Leaping Gorge, and let Xiaji take Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin to the right side of the Tiger Leaping Gorge to do Tai Chi left and right, hard and soft. They did it at the same time with several cameras working at the same time. When the time comes, the edited MV must be beautiful. This was Song Ji's original words. Xiaji was a workaholic. After listening to Song Ji's explanation, he also felt that this idea was very good. Thus, the group rushed to the Tiger Leaping Gorge. The Tiger Leaping Gorge was the place where Fang Yan encountered the monster killer group last time. There were two tall cliffs on the left and right side. It was said that on the night of the full moon, a fierce tiger howled at the moon and then jumped from the cliff on the left to the cliff on the right. The monster group's grave was covered with weeds, but the Tiger Leaping Gorge was still gloomy and ghostly, giving people infinite temptation and pushing people away. Song Gu liked this place very much and said happily, "It's so beautiful. So beautiful. That's the feeling I want. Dark and lonely like an old man in his twilight years. But when the first ray of sunlight shines on the Tiger Leaping Gorge, it gives people a feeling of light and hope. It must be unbelievably beautiful." Xiaji was also very satisfied with this place and was full of expectations for the later filming. Because Fang Yan was the main character in the MV, he needed to play Tai Chi on the cliff facing the east. On the other hand, Xiaji, Jiangqin, and Yuanlin needed to go down to the mountainside and take the ropeway to the other side of the tiger-leaping gorge. Of course, Songgu also followed Xiaji to the other side. On Fang Yan's side, there was only an assistant director accompanying him. The assistant director asked Fang Yan to tie the rope, but Fang Yan waved his hand to indicate that there was no need. This level of danger was within his tolerance range. On the opposite side of the cliff, Xiaji, Jiangqin, and Yuanlin were being tied up with safety ropes by the staff. At this moment, Xianxia suddenly cried out in alarm and fell forward. There was a slope in front of her. Her body slid down the slope for a while and fell down the cliff. At this time, Xiaji's seatbelt was not yet locked. Chapter 295. In the blink of an eye, Summer, who was standing beside him, had fallen off the cliff. It happened too fast. It was so fast that it was hard for people to react. Songgu and the others didn't even have time to make a frightened movement or make any sound. They just shouted something. The summer disappeared from their eyes. Of course, this was just the reaction of a normal person. Fang Yan was not a normal person. When he heard Summer's exclamation, he already felt that the situation was not good. When he saw Summer's head sliding down the slope, he already had a premonition of what was going to happen. Therefore, when Summer fell off the cliff, Fang Yan had already finished 2 consecutive run-up runs. He tiptoed on the edge of the cliff and his body quickly fell to the cliff, rushing towards Summer, who was on the opposite side of the cliff. Whoosh! The wind was whistling in Summer's ears. She felt the cold wind of the canyon cutting her face. She felt her body was cold and stiff. Her mind was blank. She could only hear her own breathing and heartbeat. I'm going to die. She was really unwilling. Summer's heart was full of regret and regret. She was so young, she still had a lot of things to experience. She hadn't been in love, she hadn't fulfilled her music dream, she still had a lot of things to eat and a lot of places to go. How strange, it wasn't her own heartbeat. Her heartbeat wasn't so hard and her chest wasn't so wide. Summer opened her eyes and looked at Fang Yan's eyes. 1 second or maybe even shorter. Fang Yan had already looked away, but she felt an unprecedented sense of security. This sense of security made her body no longer cold, the flesh on her face no longer hurt, and her mind returned to normal. Damn. Summer thought angrily in her heart. She was jumping off the cliff like Fang Yan. Why could she still feel safe? What was safe? Would it be safer to die together? Summer and Fang Yan had known each other for a while, but it was the first time she was so close to him. She looked at his side profile. It wasn't the kind of handsome European with a knife and axe. The curve was very soft. His eyes were very bright. They were falling fast and his eyes were looking around like an eagle. He was about to die, so what was there to worry about? Xianxia suddenly felt her side collide with the edge of the cliff. No, Fang Yan hugged her and dove to the side. Fang Yan grabbed onto a long horizontal branch at the edge of the cliff. Because they were falling too hard, the tree branch creaked under their weight and their legs kept swaying in the air. From rolling down the cliff to stopping, the summer felt as long as a century. However, to Fang Yan it was merely a breath's time. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Fang Yan jumped off the cliff to intercept Xiaxia Kiki. After gliding in the air for a few tenths of a second, Fang Yan hooked his hand and grabbed the tree trunk. Are you okay? Fang Yan finally had the chance to ask this question. I'm fine, Fang Yan. You? She really couldn't understand why Fang Yan would jump off the cliff to save her. Didn't he say that she wasn't his type and that they wouldn't have a future together? Was there a need to invest so much? Fang Yan didn't answer her question. He looked up at the sky and shouted, "Throw the rope down. Quick, put the rope down, put the rope down." Songgu and the security assistants on the top of the mountain finally reacted. They put down the rope that was originally used as a safety rope and held the other end in their hands. 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, a dozen people. They lined up in a column, each holding a section of the rope, ready to pull Fang Yan and Xiaji up. Fang Yan told Xiachen to hug him tightly. For safety's sake, he used his own legs to clamp Xiachen's legs tightly together. This posture was really too embarrassing and too ambiguous. Fortunately, Fang Yan and Xiachen were both simple-minded beauty. No one would think so much and no one would admit that they did. In this way, Fang Yan's 2 hands were completely free. He hugged the tree trunk with 1 hand and took the rope with the other hand and pulled hard. The group of people on the mountain moved toward the edge of the cliff. The rope was very soft and there were many factors that could not be fixed. Tie the other end of the rope to a big tree. Tie it tightly. Fang Yan shouted. This time it was not a joke. If the rope accidentally fell when he grabbed the rope and climbed up, it would be very difficult for him to grab the life-saving object that could stop them from falling. Or if someone on the top of the mountain was pulled down the cliff, Fang Yan would be powerless to help save them at that time. With casualties, this MV shooting would become an accident. The police and the media would get involved. The aftermath would be very troublesome and the impact would be very bad. This was the first time Fang Yan had experienced MV. He did not want to encounter such a bad thing at the beginning of his life. Quickly tie the rope to the tree. Song Gu became a headless fly and anxiously ordered. If something happened to Xiachen, the Xia family might vent their anger on him. After all, he was the one who requested to come to Tiger Leaping Gorge to shoot the MV, and he was the one who came up with the idea. This kind of responsibility was not something he could bear. Xiachen's security assistant was still rational and said, Director Song, if we tie the rope to the tree we can't drag it. How can they come up? Song Gu thought about it and also felt that something was wrong. Shouldn't Fang Yan tie the other end of the rope to him and Xiachen, and the people on the top of the mountain should try their best to drag them up? They tied the rope to the tree trunk and the tree would not help to drag them. Could it be that the two of them tied the rope and climbed up by themselves? How could they climb up? Is it tied? Fang Yan pulled the rope again and shouted. Mr. Fang, should we drag you up? Tie the rope to the tree. You don't have to worry about anything else. Fang Yan shouted. Creak, creak. The trunk of the small tree that Fang Yan was hugging was bent to the extreme. This small tree, which was as thick as the mouth of a bowl, was not enough to support the strength of two people. Soil began to roll down from its roots. Fang Yan, the tree is going to break. Xiachen said with a pale face. It's okay. We have enough time. Fang Yan said. As he spoke, he had already grabbed the rope and did not let go. Even if the small tree broke immediately, they would not fall off the cliff. It's tight. Song Gu shouted from the top of the mountain. Fang Yan was worried and pulled hard. The rope was straight and hard and the other end was tied very firmly. As long as the tree was strong enough, there should be no problem with the rope. All of you get out of the way. Fang Yan shouted. Song Gu looked around and asked, You said to get out of the way. Where should we go? No one answered because everyone saw a horrifying and thrilling scene. They saw Fang Yan hugging Xiachen with one hand and holding the rope with the other. After wrapping the rope around his wrists a few times, he swung his body towards the cliff on the right. They were like two gourds on a vine, crashing into the stone wall on the other side. Both of his feet stepped on the cliff, and his body once again rushed towards the cliff on the left. Both of his feet stepped on the cliff on the left and his body once again swung to the right. Back and forth, Fang Yan was like a naughty monkey playing on the two blades cliff. After borrowing strength several times, his body suddenly jumped high and jumped on top of Song Ji's head with Xiachen in his arms. The hero saving the beauty had to be cool. This was the second cool climbing posture that Fang Yan could think of. When Song Gu was still hesitating about where to hide, the security assistant pushed him away, which avoided the tragic fate of being kicked to the bottom of the cliff by Fang Yan and Xiachen. In that case, Song Gu would only have a dead end. Because the security assistant knew that Fang Yan would not play eagle fall for Song Gu. The security assistant really knew about safety. Xiachen lay in Fang Yan's arms and gasped. Until now, she did not dare to open her eyes. It was too exciting, it was really too exciting. She had made many movies and TV series, climbed mountains, jumped over rivers and even played high-altitude leaps on the skyscrapers of Dubai. However, that was when there was a steel wire hanging from it. Moreover, most of the actions in the film and TV series were completed by post-production. The scene that you think is cool and exciting may just be completed in the recording studio. However, Fang Yan made such an action with one hand grabbing the rope. This is simply challenging human cognition. Song Gu sat on the ground and looked at Fang Yan with her mouth wide open. She was speechless for a long time. He didn't know if he was stimulated or scared. Maybe it was both. The three security assistants of the crew stared at Fang Yan. A bearded man gave a thumbs up to Fang Yan. The bearded man was called Zhou Xian, the head bodyguard of Xiachen. Originally, he did not like Fang Yan very much. He thought that he was just a pretty boy who knew a few tricks. Because he was good-looking and glib, he was able to get Miss Xiachen's trust. This feeling was as complicated and contradictory as the princess guarded by the warrior was taken away by the prince, and the daughter raised by the father was about to be cheated away by the bastard son-in-law. However, with Fang Yan's quick reaction after Xiachen fell off the cliff and his ability to climb at high altitude, his ability could kill them dozens of times. He came over and wanted to pat Fang Yan's shoulder, but he felt that this action was a bit disrespectful to an expert. So he took his hand back. He looked at Fang Yan and said, "Master Fang, thank you. Our brother's negligence caused Miss Xiachen to be in danger. If it weren't for you, the consequences would be unimaginable." The other two security assistants also came over to thank Fang Yan. They were smiling on their faces, but they were crying in their hearts. With this guy here, they were afraid that they would lose their jobs, right? Chapter 296. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were frightened. They stood together with Summer and were about to buckle the rope around their waists when Summer exclaimed and disappeared. The two little girls were deeply loved by Summer. When they were in Yanjing, they received a lot of help from Summer. Summer was usually busy with work, but she often asked her assistant to send them some daily necessities. As long as she had free time, she would drive to school to pick them up, and the three of them would go out to eat and go shopping together. Their relationship was not like that of master and apprentice, but more like that of sisters. Summer fell off the cliff. Their little faces were pale with fear and their legs were weak. They couldn't even speak. Fortunately, Fang Yan chased after them and saved Summer. Only then did they recover some spirit and strength. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin rushed over and cried while hugging Summer. Life and death separated by a thin line. If it weren't for Fang Yan, they could only see Summer's corpse now. Maybe they wouldn't see it because they couldn't go down the mountain in such a short time. Because Summer was still lying in Fang Yan's arms, the two of them also hugged Fang Yan. From a distance, it looked like the four of them were hugging their heads and crying together. Summer finally came to her senses. She got up from Fang Yan's arms, turned around and hugged Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin in her arms. She comforted them and said, "Why are you crying? I'm fine, aren't I?" "Sister, you almost..." Yuan Lin wiped her tears and her little face was red from crying. "I thought I wouldn't see you." "Yes. As soon as we looked up, we couldn't see you. Then we saw them running to the edge of the cliff. Yuan Lin and I didn't dare to go over. We were so scared." Jiang Qin's eyes were also red. "With your omnipotent Mr. Fang here, sister will be fine," Summer said with a smile. She adjusted her mentality very quickly. "Look, aren't I standing right in front of you?" Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin looked at Fang Yan together. When they were about to thank Fang Yan, they found that Fang Yan was chatting with the security assistant. Fang Yan looked at the bearded Zhou Xian and asked, "Brother Zhou is a soldier?" Zhou Xian and his two brothers immediately became vigilant. They stared at Fang Yan and said, "Master Fang, why do you ask? He has been retired for at least 10 years, right?" Fang Yan said with a smile. "Although you've been away from the army for many years, your every movement still bears the mark of a soldier. For example, the way you stand, the tone of your voice, and some of the methods you use when you're on guard. You don't have to be nervous. I knew you were soldiers the moment I saw you. Master Fang has a good eye." Zhou Xian chuckled. "Protect Miss Summer well. She's a good person and deserves your attention," Fang Yan said. Zhou Xian looked at Fang Yan and said, "Master Fang, have you ever considered following Miss Xia? Miss Xia is a good person and treats you differently. If you guard her, you'll have a better development in the future." Zhou Xian was also a smart person. He knew that the pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. If Fang Yan was willing to be Xiaxia's bodyguard, perhaps the two of them would become an enviable couple. Miss Xiaxia had a good family background, good looks, and most importantly, she was kind-hearted, knowledgeable, and introverted. She was a good match for countless men. If Fang Yan could really get together with Xiaxia, it would be 100 times better than being a teacher in a middle school. Xiaxia's husband was a figure who could make headlines in the media from time to time. Zhou Xian thanked Fang Yan for his help in times of crisis and also thanked him for comforting his brother, so this sentence was more straightforward. "I just want to be a quiet teacher." Fang Yan refused with a smile. "Reading, writing, and being with students, this is the best life I can imagine." Zhou Xian and his two friends immediately blushed. They felt that their hearts were too vulgar and dirty, and they were not worthy to talk and chat with Fang Yan. It was blasphemy to look at them. After the accident, Everyone's mood was a little unstable. Under the security guard, the group of people retreated to the side of the road to drink water and rest. Song Gu was completely convinced by Fang Yan this time. No, it had risen to the level of worship. He now recalled how stupid it was to say that this guy had no talent and could not be used. He repeatedly expressed his gratitude to Fang Yan and hoped that they could contact each other more in the future. Fang Yan understood Song Ji's mentality and did not embarrass him anymore. Since there was no replacement for Xianxia, he would not say anything more. Song Gu squatted in front of Xianxia and said with a face full of fear, "Xianxia, it's all my fault. I really didn't expect such a thing to happen. If I didn't choose such a dangerous place to shoot, you wouldn't have encountered such danger. Why don't we change places to shoot the MV?" Many people in the entertainment industry were superstitious. They believed in all kinds of gods. Every time they started filming, they would hold a starting ceremony and pray to the gods to bless them with smooth sailing and smooth shooting. Encountering an extremely dangerous thing during filming like today, almost causing casualties, made them feel that this was not an auspicious place. Changing the venue was also a matter of course. "I almost fell off the cliff because I accidentally stepped on a snake. It has nothing to do with the venue you chose," Xiaxia said. "If you think this venue is not good enough, we can change to a better one. However, if it's just because of this sudden accident, I think it's still better to shoot here." "Fang Yan, what do you think? Next time tie the safety rope," Fang Yan said. "If I just happened to be dozing off or went to the toilet, wouldn't I not be able to chase after you to save you? Even if the others jumped down, they wouldn't be able to save you. Maybe they would fall even faster with you." A group of people laughed and the oppressive atmosphere finally eased a little. Xiaxia nodded and said, "Fang Yan is right. We still choose to shoot in Tiger Leaping Gorge and we still follow the original shooting plan. However, we must do a good job with safety measures. Not only me but also my dear and Shaolin. Every staff member must do a good job with safety measures. People who are not related to the filming should not go there. Just stand in a safe area and do the logistics work. Miss, this time we will do a good job with safety," Zhou Xian promised. "Yes. Don't feel pressured," Xiaxia comforted. When everyone went to work, Xiaxia sat next to Fang Yan. Xiaxia looked at Fang Yan and said, "You haven't answered my question yet." "What question?" Fang Yan asked. "Why did you jump down?" Xiaxia's bright and intelligent eyes stared at every frame of Fang Yan's facial expression and asked aloud. "As I can," Fang Yan said. Xiaxia angrily kicked Fang Yan and said with a wry smile, "What kind of answer is that? Do you think you're Wuxia mobile?" "I didn't think that much at the time." Fang Yan looked at Xiaxia and said, "If I didn't have this skill, I might have made the same choice as them. I would have shouted for help, Summer fell down, and then I would have waited for you to completely fall down, followed everyone to the Grand Canyon to find you, waited for the police to come, waited for your memorial service and maybe even shed some tears. However, with this skill I know I can save you. I know how I should save you and I have to save you. That's why I jumped." "Is that the reason?" Xiaxia asked. There was some regret, a little sadness but also a sense of relief and joy. After surviving a disaster there will be good fortune. Xiaxia thought it must be like this, right? "That's the reason," Fang Yan said. "It's not as complicated as you think. If Song Gu fell down, would you save him like this?" Xiaxia didn't know why he would ask such a boring question. Isn't this kind of unreasonable question that a 17 or 18-year-old girl would ask when she's acting coquettishly with her boyfriend? It's impossible to happen or hasn't happened yet and you have to find a definite answer. Isn't this making things difficult for people? Could it be that she had suddenly contracted the princess syndrome? Fang Yan said. "You're not a broad-minded man. Because he's your compatriot?" Xiaxia broke the casserole and asked to the end. "I'm not a broad-minded man, but I'm not a narrow-minded man either. Everyone has a family, parents and children. If something happens to them, the ones who will be hurt the most will be the ones who love them the most. If I can save a family from a tragedy, I'm willing to do whatever I can to save them. This is the meaning of my martial arts. This is the meaning of the existence of Kung Fu," Fang Yan said with a dignified expression and a sincere voice. "I just can't stand to see others cry. You guys are so great," Xiaxia said. She was very glad that there was such a group of Wuxia martial artists, which gave them a sense of security. Americans have Spider-Man and Batman, can't Wuxia have her own superhero? Besides, only after you save them can you see how grateful others are to you, Fang Yan said. At that time your heart will be like drinking a bucket of ice water on a hot day. You will feel that your whole life has been sublimated. My heart is very happy. Fang Yan looked down at the pool of blood on his pants and was shocked. He said, "Why am I bleeding? It doesn't make sense." He didn't encounter any danger at all. His actions to save people were very smooth and the process was very smooth. How did he get hurt? What's more, he was safe and didn't feel any pain. Xiaxia's face suddenly turned red. She fiercely glared at Fang Yan and said, "It's my blood." Chapter 297. Are you hurt? Fang Yan was shocked. He thought about it seriously. At that time he was quite careful to protect her. He didn't let her body touch the stone wall. When she fell on the tree he pressed his body on it first and then hooked the tree trunk with his hands. Could it be that she was scratched when she fell to the ground when she was frightened by the poisonous snake? Xiaxia, the intellectual beauty, was also angry with Fang Yan. Her cheeks were red and her eyes were dripping water. She said angrily, "You did it on purpose." "I didn't do it on purpose," Fang Yan explained. "If I deliberately hurt you, wouldn't it be better if I pretended not to see you fall off the cliff? I was kind enough to save you. How can you accuse me like this? Idiot." Xiaxia kicked Fang Yan's knee. She got up and walked towards Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin. "Remember to change your pants." Inexplicable. Fang Yan looked at the red blood on his trousers and said, "Drama crew, please help me get a new pair of pants." There was still filming in a while. Fang Yan didn't want to play Tai Chi in a pair of blood-stained pants. Fortunately, he discovered it in advance. If it was discovered by the audience in the music video, it would be a great shame. Since Fang Yan performed a difficult ultimate teacher version of the hero saving the beauty in public, the entire crew regarded him as an idol and the #1 person who couldn't be offended. His ranking was even higher than Xiaxia. In this high mountain, if he accidentally fell down, he hoped that the hero could save him once, right? Besides, if he offended someone and they beat him up, he wouldn't have the chance to fight back. Presumably, his good colleagues and friends wouldn't help him. Therefore, everyone agreed to Fang Yan's request. As soon as Fang Yan shouted that he needed to change a pair of pants, 2 girls from the drama crew immediately ran over with several pairs of pants and asked Fang Yan which one he needed. Moreover, a round-faced girl blushed and asked Fang Yan if he needed her help changing pants. After all, she was a professional in this area. Fang Yan refused. Did they think they were 3 years old? He couldn't even do something as simple as changing his pants? It was too infuriating. Due to the incident of falling off a cliff in the summer, the production team raised the safety level to an unprecedented level. Other than the actors and cameramen, everyone else retreated to a safe area. Several security assistants whipped all the surrounding bushes with sticks. If there were any venomous snakes or scorpions, they would either drive them away or beat them to death with a stick. They were also holding back their anger in their hearts. If it wasn't for that poisonous snake rushing to Xiaxia's feet, they wouldn't be so passive right now. Fang Yan went to the opposite cliff. "Walk over there." Ordinary experts would not easily make a move, and those who did so were definitely not peerless experts. In this regard, Shimen Chue Shui was very arrogant and pretentious. He first announced to the Jianghu, "If a sword is not unsheathed, blood will be shed." When an enemy came to challenge him, he killed him with a single slash. His friend came to challenge him and he killed him with a single slash. Her son came over to challenge her and she secretly beat him up, pretending that nothing had happened. In this way, who would dare to challenge him? No one dared to challenge him, and he was able to maintain his reputation of being undefeated. Therefore, Fang Yan always felt that Shimen Chue Shui was the smartest person in the Jianghu. Assistant Director Wang Ku treated Fang Yan differently this time. He personally walked to Fang Yan with the safety lock and asked, "Master Fang, you don't need this thing, do you?" "I don't need it," Fang Yan said. He wanted to do Tai Chi without any scruples. What was a rope tied around his waist? But the others must be tied up. Understood. Understood. Wang Ku said with a smile. How can they be compared to Master Fang? We were just talking about how you can see a tiger jumping from one cliff to the other on a full moon night. Although we didn't see a real tiger jumping, we saw Mr. Fang jumping off the cliff. He jumped off the cliff to save someone. This is much more exciting than a tiger jumping off a cliff. It's just a small trick. Director Wang, you flatter me, Fang Yan said with a smile. Master Fang, this is the appearance of a real dragon. It's not a real dragon. It's just a fake dragon, Fang Yan said modestly. Wang Ku opened his mouth but he didn't know how to continue. But he also realized that keeping silent was a very impolite behavior, so he quickly said, Mr. Fang, can we start? Miss Xia's side is ready. Fang Yan looked at the opposite cliff. Xia, Jiangqin and Yuanlin were dressed in black and stood in a triangle. Xia stood at the front while Jiangqin and Yuanlin stood on the left and right of her. The three girls were beautiful and charming. Wearing tai chi they gave people a feeling of valiance. High mountains and deep valleys, the red sun rose and the fog filled the air, making them look like immortals. One could imagine the visual impact when all of this was put into the camera. Songgu raised her hand and shouted, Action. Wang Ku shouted at the same time, Start. So Fang Yan bowed slightly, held his hands in a circle and began to draw a circle with the tip of his foot. Summer also began to dance. Xia pushed her hand and Jiangqin and Yuanlin followed. Xia turned around and Jiangqin and Yuanlin also turned around at the same time. Several cameras moved at the same time, capturing the people on both sides of the cliff and making a moving picture. As the sun rose, rays of sunlight shone down, painting Fang Yan's body with a layer of gold. Even the mountains, the trees, the flowers, the grasses and the pitch-black stones began to shine with a golden light. However, in the place where the sun didn't shine, the darkness was still sleeping, and the evil was still spreading. A man whose entire body was covered in green was lying flat on the grass, his mouth emitting a soft hissing sound. He took out a shiny leather bag from his bosom and opened it. A small snake with a fiery red body crawled out of the bag. The snake had no eyes but it had a keen sense of smell. Urged by the hissing sound, it jumped up and rushed toward the forest in the distance. The man's triangular eyes showed a happy smile. He shook the leather bag and said in a very strange voice, After drinking this bag of tonic, Little Red will complete the third transformation, right? What color will it become at that time? I'm really looking forward to it. Bastard. A clear shout suddenly came from behind him. The triangular-eyed man was shocked, and his body bounced on the ground and jumped up. He had short hands and feet and there was a black mole on his face with red hair. His face looked quite strange. When he got up he had already screwed the lid of the leather bag to prevent a drop of the liquid inside from leaking out. The triangular-eyed man stared at the Daoist priest on the tree. His voice was hoarse as if his vocal cords had been torn. He shouted angrily, Who are you? His expression was very vigilant and his eyes were staring at the man in front of him. When he was invisible he would set up a large formation of spiritual insects within 100 meters. Whenever there was a slight movement, the poisonous insects would make a sound to warn him. However, this Daoist priest came without anyone noticing. The spiritual snake formation was nothing, and he didn't even notice when he was a few meters away from him. It was really too strange. Was the thing you released just now a blood eater? Tianjizi asked coldly. Who are you? The triangular-eyed man asked again. You nourish your blood with poison, feed your snake with poisonous blood, and know how to set up a large formation of poisonous insects. Are you the Xianxia Snake King? Tianjizi exposed the triangular-eyed man's identity. Who are you? The Snake King felt extreme danger. This man had broken through his spiritual snake array and exposed his identity. Moreover, after knowing his identity, this man was still arrogant and did not put him in his eyes at all. He was a little annoyed. It doesn't matter who I am. A poisonous creature like you who is neither human nor ghost, should be killed by everyone. Tianjizi said coldly. He didn't even want to tell others his name. The meaning of this sentence was very simple and straightforward. I can kill you but you don't need to know my name. Because killing you is not something to be proud of. Go to hell. Tianjizi jumped up and struck with his palm. It was a light palm. Boom. The place where the Snake King was standing was smashed into a hole. The Snake King rolled on the ground. When he got up, his face was covered in blood. He was as sinister as a snake, as cunning as a snake, as ghostly as a snake, and as vicious as a snake. He appeared and disappeared unpredictably. The name of the Xianxia Snake King could stop children from crying at night and adults from urinating frequently. He was known for his speed. No one could keep up with him since he started his cultivation. However, he was unable to dodge the Daoist priest's palm strike. Tianjizi's body was still floating in the air. What was even more strange was that his feet stepped on the air and continued to rise in the air. He also twisted his body at the same time. If Fang Yan saw this, he would be so shocked that he would be speechless. The Wudong sect had the cloud climbing ladder. It was regarded as the secret Qinggong of the Wudong sect. If that was all, Fang Yan wouldn't think it was too amazing. More importantly, this Taoist priest wasn't using the cloud climbing ladder. He was using the more advanced heaven climbing ladder. His ability to stay in the air was so powerful that it made people's hair stand on end. It really made people want to hug his leg and call him Godfather. The Taoist priest was surprised that he didn't kill the Snake King with his palm. This was really insulting. It meant that he was still alive and that it was unbelievable that he did not die from a single slap. Although the Snake King lived in seclusion in the valley, he still understood the emotional changes of humans. He wiped the blood off his face and was about to fight back. The Taoist priest's legs were floating in the air. He rushed toward where he was and struck again. Chapter 298. His body floated in the air as if he was riding on a cloud. This time he was even faster. His raised palms looked ordinary and didn't have any special effects, but it was more dangerous for the Snake Lord. Because he had lived with snakes for many years, eating and sleeping with them, he had the sensitivity and vigilance of a snake. He could sense danger. The Snake Lord was furious. He didn't do anything to provoke him, but he was doing bad things. Why did the bastard old Taoist want to kill him? His lips puckered up and a shrill whistling sound came from his mouth. Snake Chariot. It was a high-level secret technique that could control poisonous snakes. He used the Snake Chariot to urge the poisonous snakes to fight for him. This was a fighting method that used sound to tempt people. Sure enough, the pure land that was 100 meters in radius without a single venomous snake or insect had suddenly turned into a land of evil in the world. Countless poisonous snakes of different sizes and shades of color were running in this direction. There were also some scorpions and other unknown poisonous creatures following them. Some frogs and mosquitoes were swept up by them and ran forward according to their rhythm. In the process of running, they were eaten by them in one bite. In the world of the Snake Lord, poisonous snakes were the absolute kings. The divine Jizi was in the air, so the poisonous snakes couldn't attack him. Therefore they raised their heads high and made creepy sounds. They were like a group of hungry children, waiting for the divine Jizi to fall. As long as Tianjizi fell to a certain location, they would attack together and devour Tianjizi's skin, flesh, and bones. In the psychedelic world of the Snake Chariot, these poisonous snakes felt very hungry and had to find something to fill their stomachs. And under the guidance of their master, they would have a very crazy need for a certain object. The divine Jizi was furious. He put his hands together and crossed his fingers. The inside of his two thumbs collided with each other. He shouted, "Army!" Boom. His voice was like bronze knives and flying arrows. It was also like the Sanskrit of Buddhism. He could resist all evil spirits and demons in the world. Lin Bing and Doja were all in formation. This was the 9 symbols mantra of Taoism. What Tianjizi used was the word, army, from the 9 syllables of Taoism. The 9 syllables originated from the Eastern Jin dynasty's famous Daoist Guhong's Biopuzi, inner volume. It goes like this. God said, "Those who fight with soldiers are always in groups." Ever since Guhong, the 9 words proverb of Taoism had been rumored to have great power. However, many people tried to recite it to no avail. Hence, the 9 words proverb was nothing more than a rumor. The Tantric sect was influenced by Taoism and adapted the 9 secret words. He mistakenly copied array in front, as array in front, or display in front, and used it to this day. From the little finger to the thumb, they arranged the 5 elements, namely earth, water, fire, wind, and air. The right hand was wisdom and the left hand was stability. With the 10 fingers connecting inside and outside as the meridians, and the chi and chakras in the body as the weft, they practiced the 6 elements. It could be said that the esoteric sect had made the 9 syllables Sanskrit famous. However, the Daoists still maintained this secret technique. Of course, not many people knew about it. The fact that Tianjizi knew the 9 syllables of Buddhist incantation and was proficient in using it showed that he had a high status in the Daoists. The word army from Tianjizi was like a huge bell, solemn and dignified. The word army carried a strong killing intent and was very aggressive. When the poisonous snakes and animals heard the shout, They immediately retracted their raised heads. They actually cut off the sound field of the snake carriage and turned around to escape into the depths of the forest. In an instant, all the poisonous creatures on the ground were swept away. Only the Snake Lord was badly injured, bleeding from his 7 apertures due to the sound of the word, army. Tianjizi slapped down with his palm, and Snake Lord's body flew into the sky like an ugly puppet. The Snake Lord knew that he couldn't resist Tianjizi's attack, so he didn't resist it. Instead he borrowed the force to escape. He didn't expect that the dwarf-like body had great wisdom. Tianjizi cursed inwardly. When he was about to give chase again, the Snake Lord had already disappeared. Instead, black smoke spread out in all directions. Tianjizi waved his sleeves and walked in the opposite direction of the black smoke. The white-browed old monk sat on a boulder at the top of the mountain, meditating and chanting scriptures. Tianjizi didn't pay attention to him even when he came over. Tianjizi found a boulder and sat down to meditate alone. They had different beliefs, but they respected each other. It wasn't like thousands of years ago when the Buddhist and Daoist sects were sworn enemies and fought each other. After he finished chanting the Rangyan mantra every morning, the white-browed old monk opened his eyes and looked at Tianjizi. He said, "You Daoists cultivate fate. If you don't have fate, you won't even hesitate to kill. If you used a thunderous method right from the start, I don't believe that poisonous creature could escape from your hands. Regardless of whether it's fate or karma, we have to let nature take its course. This poisonous creature should be a calamity in that brat's life. Why should I disturb the cycle of the world? That poisonous creature is a bit strange. Aren't you afraid that it will hurt that brat? If the inheritor of the Tai Chi diagram we chose can't even deal with this little snake, how can we protect the peace of the Dragon Soul nation of Wuxia? You're even more stubborn." "Yes, I've given up," Tianjizi said. "The world asks us for karma. Who do we ask for the karma? What will come will come. What will go will go. Wind, rain, thunder, lightning, flowers bloom and wilt. All of them have their own destiny. Tampering with them at will result in divine punishment." "Then let's wait and see," the long-browed monk said. "Tang Xian has gone through 81 difficulties to obtain the scripture. This brat has to show some ability to get the Tai Chi diagram." Tianjizi smiled bitterly and said, "It's good that he's willing to accept it. If he doesn't, we can only let the other brats take advantage of it." "I'm afraid it won't be cheap," the long-browed monk said. He closed his eyes, put his hands together and once again faced the morning sun to do his homework. The sun was full of kindness and benevolence. Tianjizi chanted, "Immeasurable Heavenly Lord," and sat down cross-legged without saying anything. As soon as he sat down, his body became bright and dark. When the light was bright, so was he. When the light was dim, so was he. It looked quite magical. If Fang Yan saw this, he would probably exclaim that this old guy's entire body was a treasure. Fang Yan didn't have the clairvoyance eye, so he naturally couldn't see what was beyond his field of vision. He was busy practicing Tai Chi as the sun became brighter and warmer, his movements became bigger and bigger. He moved up and down, but it was beautiful and natural. On the opposite cliff, Xianxia led Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin into the climax of the 12 styles of Tai Chi. The boxing movements of the 3 beautiful women, 1 big and 2 small, were even more pleasing to the eye than Fang Yan's side. At least that was what the male compatriots thought. Click. Song Gu shouted loudly into the walkie-talkie and made a stop gesture. Click. Wang Ku also hurriedly shouted to stop. The movement stopped and the machine stopped. Song Gu explained to Wang Ku and Fang Yan through the walkie-talkie, saying, "Great, the performance is very good. This is the most wonderful Tai Chi I have ever seen. I can imagine how wonderful and beautiful it will be after it is edited. I can't bear to shout, but I have to shout. Master Fang seems to be in good condition, but Miss Xia and Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin are already tired, and their foreheads are full of sweat. Take a break for a while and then we will shoot some more shots." Xianxia was indeed a little tired. She had just experienced such a critical moment of life and death, and her performance in front of the camera was not as relaxed and casual as her usual Tai Chi. She also needed to pay attention to the language and emotional expression of the camera. Her body really couldn't hold on. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were even more tired. The amount of exercise this morning was much more than their usual training at school. Hearing that they could rest, the The logistics staff immediately rushed over and helped Xianxia, Jiangqin and Yuanlin to rest on the platform. The staff also put away the camera equipment and withdrew from the dangerous area of the cliff. In the place where they had just left, a small fiery red snake crawled out of the grass with a hissing sound. After returning to the hotel, they took a shower and rested and then gathered for lunch. Lunch was not held in the internal restaurant of the Xianxia hotel, because everyone felt that the food in the hotel was not delicious. After asking the guide, the crew went to a restaurant that looked pretty good. The restaurant also maintained the characteristics of Xianxia Mountain. The restaurant was built against the cliff and next to it was a bottomless valley. Of course, the side was blocked with thick branches to prevent guests from accidentally falling off the cliff. Mountain mushroom chicken, wild vegetable flour, fried wild eggs, fresh bamboo shoots fried with twice-cooked pork, white radish stew with a lot of chili and spices. It was full of aroma and spiciness and everyone was sweating profusely. Songgu raised the cup of farm-brewed sour plum wine and said loudly, "The food is so delicious that I haven't had time to say until now. Everyone has worked hard today. Come, let's have a toast." Everyone raised their cups at the same time and drank the sour plum wine in one gulp. Fang Yan liked the taste of this kind of sour plum wine very much and he could taste it. This plum wine added several herbs from the mountains which had the effect of promoting blood circulation and removing blood stasis, strengthening the kidneys and health care, and was very effective for sub-healthy people. Fang Yan was going to buy more from the boss when he left and bring it back for his grandparents. Lu Chaoga's aunt could also take some, and that woman's physical condition was even more worrying. If she also went, Lu Chaoga would be alone in this world without a relative. Even Xiaxia, Jiangqin and Yuanlin drank it all in one gulp and did not act perfunctorily. At this moment, Fang Yan suddenly heard a slight noise in the grass behind him. He listened attentively and a red line came to the back of his neck. It was as fast as a meteor, incredibly fast. Before anyone noticed anything wrong, Fang Yan turned 90 degrees like lightning. He picked up the red line with his chopsticks. A surprising scene appeared. The red line felt danger and actually changed direction to escape sideways. How could Fang Yan let him escape? His body suddenly jumped out and he and the chair flew together to the red line. Crack! His chopsticks picked up a small, fiery red snake. After looking at the red line on the snake's body carefully, Fang Yan was so happy that his face almost changed shape. He raised his chopsticks and was about to put the snake into the sizzling soup pot, saying, "I'll give you a big tonic dish." Chapter 299. Fang Yan often felt very lonely. For example, when a person didn't know what to eat for dinner, or when a person forgot to bring paper while squatting in the toilet, or when he wanted to put the blood eater into the pot of soup but no one agreed, he felt that no one understood him. "Fang Yan, don't put that kind of dirty thing into the pot, throw it away." Xiaxia looked at the fiery red earthworm-like object in the middle of the chopsticks in Fang Yan's hand and said while suppressing her disgust. She felt her stomach twitching at a glance. How could she throw it into the soup pot? Who would dare to eat that kind of thing? "Mr. Fang, hurry up and trample it to death. So disgusting, I have goosebumps. What is that thing? Earthworm? Or snake?" Jiangqin also couldn't stand this kind of ugly mollusk. She was most afraid of soft things like earthworms or snakes. "Mr. Fang, raise your chopsticks." "Yes, that's it. I'll take a picture and send it to my circle of friends." "Okay, I'm done, you can throw it away." "Throw it off the cliff, it's uncomfortable to look at." Yuan Lin's mentality was quite good, but her suggestion was still to throw this thing away. Others also wanted to suggest that Fang Yan throw this thing away, but because their relationship with Fang Yan was not as close as that of Jiangqin and Yuan Lin, and because of the threat of Fang Yan's powerful force, they didn't dare to say it. Songgu opened her mouth, but finally decided to temporarily stand aside. "It's just a pot of soup, it's fine if it's ruined, but it's not good to offend Fang Yan. Throw it away." This group of prodigal women, they don't even know how precious this thing is. Things like ginseng, deer antler, bear paw and so on are not even dregs in front of it. This kind of snake is called the blood eater, raised with poisonous blood. Every time it sheds its skin, a cycle will occur. There are already 2 white lines on its body, and one has already appeared, which means that it is about to have 3 cycles. After 100 revolutions, the snake could transform into a flood dragon. The flood dragon experienced thousands of tribulations, ascended to become a dragon and controlled a region of rainwater. Of course, this was just a myth. However, most myths and legends actually had their origins. It was rare to see a vampire who was about to undergo his third transition. After it completed its third revolution, who knew what kind of existence it would become? Moreover, as a venomous snake that grew up on poisonous blood, its entire body was filled with poison. If the snake's venom was removed, its flesh would be unbelievably delicious. Fang Yan had eaten pufferfish before, and the taste of that thing couldn't be compared to this vampire. Of course, Fang Yan hadn't eaten a vampire yet. Because vampires were venomous snakes raised by humans, they were treated like precious treasures. Who would be willing to use one to make snake soup? Fang Yan gently sighed and said, "Since no one is willing to share it, then I will enjoy it alone. You can't say that I'm eating it alone." Fang Yan turned to the owner of the restaurant who had rushed over after hearing the news and said, "Prepare a glass bottle for me. The kind you used to make wine." "All right. Our restaurant makes our own plum wine. Sometimes when customers like it, they will ask us for a few bottles to bring back to show filial piety to their elders. So our restaurant specially prepared a lot of glass bottles that can hold up to half a caddy. I will prepare them for you right now," the owner said. "Master Fang, you want to use it to make wine?" Songgu asked curiously. "Yes," Fang Yan said. "Let me tell you, this snake wine is good stuff. Not to mention mosquito bites and all kinds of snake venom, it can even get rid of malignant tumors. Of course, you have already rejected my good intentions, so this thing is mine alone." "It's that magical?" Songgu asked uncertainly. "Can also strengthen the kidneys," Fang Yan said softly. Regret appeared on Songji's face and she said, "Then when Master Fang's medicinal wine is done, I will ask for a cup to drink?" "No problem," Fang Yan said with a smile. "That is, if you still have it when you come." Seeing Songgu staring at the vampire in the middle of the chopsticks, Fang Yan raised the vampire and handed it over, saying, "For you?" Songgu was so scared that she kept stepping back. He was still afraid of this weird thing. The owner quickly brought over a glass bottle with a rubber stopper. Fang Yan let the owner pull the stopper and then used the chopsticks to stuff the vampire in. This thing didn't have eyes, but it was extremely sensitive. As soon as Fang Yan let go of the chopsticks, it turned around and wanted to escape. Unfortunately, it wasn't as fast as Fang Yan. Fang Yan had already stuffed the cork back into the bottle and blocked it inside. "Give me half a caddy of white wine. The strongest wine you have here," Fang Yan said. "Then Central Plains white? 65 degrees. The owner said. "That's it," Fang Yan said. So Fang Yan poured a bottle of Central Plains white with 65 degrees into the glass bottle. As soon as the white wine was poured in, the vampire desperately struggled and dodged in the bottle. Obviously it liked fresh blood, not this stimulating alcohol. Fang Yan closed the bottle and let it roll around inside. Bang bang bang, his strength was so great that the glass bottles were banging noisily from his slaps. Moreover, when Fang Yan deliberately put the bottle on the table to observe, the bottle kept shaking on the wooden table as if it could fall or fly away at any time. Screech, screech, screech. The sound coming from its mouth became louder and louder and then quieter. After 10 minutes it finally stopped moving. "Is it dead?" Yuan Lin asked curiously. The little girl was very interested in new things and she was the only one who ran behind Fang Yan to watch. Because she was lazy, she even put her chin on Fang Yan's shoulder. "It's pretending to be dead," Fang Yan said. "If we don't soak it for 7 days and 7 nights and open the bottle, it might escape. Of course it will escape if it bites someone to death. This kind of snake is very vengeful." Everyone's hair stood on end. Xiaxia said, "Really? This snake, it knows how to cheat?" "What kind of animal doesn't know how to cheat?" Fang Yan said with a smile. "People have their own ways to protect themselves, and animals also have their own ways to protect themselves. Besides, snakes are sinister creatures, so it's not strange that they know such strange tricks." Seeing such a monster swaying in front of them, everyone lost their appetite. Fang Yan looked at everyone and said with a smile, "Are you all full? Sure, let's go back. I can also take this thing under the sun." On the way back to the hotel, everyone stayed away from Fang Yan. Who wouldn't panic if they saw him holding a bottle like that, as if he was hugging his own son with a face full of love? After escorting everyone back to the hotel safely, Fang Yan returned to his room. Holding the glass bottle in his hand and looking at the vampire that was pretending to be dead, Fang Yan's face became cold. Conspiracy. This was a killing trap. The snake that jumped at Xiaxia shouldn't have jumped out by accident, right? The snake was controlled by someone and scared the defenseless Xiaxia on the top of the mountain. Xiaxia accidentally fell off the cliff, and the only person who had the ability to save Xiaxia was himself. If the person behind the scenes continued to attack while he was flying down the cliff to save Xiaxia, he and Xiaxia would probably be in fatal danger. Why didn't he attack immediately? And the vampire in his hand didn't attack until it was time to eat. If it had appeared when Xiaxia fell off the cliff, then the situation might have been very different, right? Fang Yan didn't know that when the Snake Lord was about to control the poisonous snake to give Fang Yan a fatal blow, he was attacked by Tianjizi. Without the control of the snake chariot, the vampire's ability was greatly reduced, and he lost the best opportunity to attack. Who on earth dug such a big hole and wanted to bury himself in it? Fang Yan always felt that he was a good person, but why did a good person have so many disasters? I'm just AF * king talker, I'm not a big evil person, why does everyone have to make life difficult for me? Fang Yan put the glass bottle on the windowsill where the noon light shone. Sure enough, the vampire in the bottle was most afraid of sunlight. His body rolled and twitched in the bottle again. Fang Yan ignored it, closed the door and left the room. Big hole. Blood. Footprints. Fang Yan used a stick to check the viscosity of the blood and calculated the time. It happened to appear when Xiaxia fell off the cliff. The big hole was also turned over new soil. According to Fang Yan's eyes, it was blasted out by someone's energy because the soil was too broken and turned into powder. Only strength qi could indiscriminately grind the soil into powder. Fang Yan's expression was solemn. What kind of person could have such internal strength? Also, the person blasted it down from the sky, which was why the hole felt like it was being compressed. Fang Yan imagined the battle in his mind and realized that there were some actions that even he couldn't do, or could do better than the person who did it. Thinking of this, Fang Yan felt a little relieved. Shisha Mountain wasn't small, but it wasn't big either. There were only 2 people who could have such skills. One was him and the other one didn't need to say who it was. Tianjizi helped him avoid a disaster. But if it was Tianjizi, why did he let the poisonous creature escape? If you want a disciple, you have to be serious. If you work half-heartedly like this, who would want to follow you? Fang Yan thought in his heart. He walked to the high valley and bowed slightly towards the east. He knew that he could see his gratitude. We're even now. Fang Yan thought happily. Bastard. At a stream at the foot of the mountain, a middle-aged Taoist saw Fang Yan like a black dot and gritted his teeth. Bowing is considered repaying a debt of gratitude? How can there be such a good thing? Just you wait, you and I are fated. Don't think of escaping from my palm. Chapter 300. When Fang Yan returned to the Xianxia hotel and was about to open the door of the room next door suddenly opened. Xiaxia, wearing a set of white casual clothes, stood at the door, poked his head out and said, I made a pot of pu'er tea. Do you want to come over and have a drink? I'm a little tired. I'll go back and take a bath. Fang Yan said. Then I'll wait for you. When are you coming? I'll help you soak it up. Xiaxia Kiki smiled as she looked at Fang Yan and said firmly. Fang Yan knew that he couldn't hide, so he turned around and walked in front of Xiaxia, saying, Then let's try your craft first. If I didn't insist, would you be unwilling to come over? Xiaxia knew Fang Yan's mentality like the back of his hand. He let Fang Yan in and said, I have something to ask you. Pu'er tea was indeed brewed in Xiaxia, but the tea was slightly cold and the taste was already the second tea. Fang Yan looked at Xiaxia, who said matter-of-factly, I drank the first one myself. The taste is a little light, you won't like it, but it suits my taste. The second one was the best. It was originally prepared to be used to entertain guests. I knocked on the door and you weren't in the room, so it was cold. I poured it out. Using the third tea to entertain you won't make you feel wronged, right? Of course not. Fang Yan watched Xiaxi's slender hands pour out the herbal tea in the teacup, and then pour in warm water to soak it again. After Fang Yan held a cup of hot tea in his hand and tasted it, Xiaxi asked, What's going on with that snake? Fang Yan looked at Xiaxi and asked with a wry smile, What did you find? I didn't find anything before. I thought it was just an accident and that the green snake that hit my calf was just a coincidence. Xiaxi said. But when we were eating, a second snake appeared and it was such a strange poisonous snake. I felt that something was wrong. Some time ago when I was rehearsing at Xianxia Mountain, I also encountered snakes, but those snakes turned around and ran away when they saw people and I couldn't catch up. Unlike the two poisonous snakes today who actually knew how to sneak attack and pretend to be dead, Fang Yan would never underestimate a woman's IQ. The women around him, whether it was Lu Chaoge, Qin Yitian, or even his childhood sweetheart, Phoenix, who had failed in his first love, were all extremely smart. Although Yi Ro was a bit barbaric and violent, no one dared to say that she wasn't smart. How could an unintelligent woman have such a high level of martial arts cultivation at such a young age? Therefore Fang Yan decided to be honest. Are you thinking too much? Fang Yan said. Someone was struck by lightning twice in a day. Such unlucky things can happen. What's the big deal about encountering two snakes in a day? Fang Yan, you're not honest. Xianxia looked at Fang Yan and said. Just as you said, even if we can't be a couple, we're still friends, right? Shouldn't friends be honest? Haven't you heard of white lies? Fang Yan asked helplessly. Smart women should abide by the rule of silence at the right time, which Xianxia didn't do well. Xiaxia's expression became serious and said, Are you worried that they will kill me? Xianxia, I don't know where you come from, but I know that you know Lanshan Valley, and you seem to have a good relationship with them. I can also see the fear of you in the eyes of Song Gu and the others. I know that you have an extraordinary background, and that you can smash a big hole in the floor if you throw out your father's name or your father's name. However, there is such a group of people in this world and the power of the city has no restraints on them. If you want to know, I can tell you everything. If you want to be lazy, we can talk about other topics. Fang Yan, you underestimate me. Xiaxia looked at Fang Yan sternly and said, Just as you said, because my family is still passable, my father or my father's father is also somewhat famous. So I have been exposed to a wide range of things since I was young. Strange. I have heard a lot of anecdotes and seen a lot of hidden experts. I know that there is a group of people in this world who are not bound by the secular world or even the law. They can't ignore the law and they are bold and reckless. They don't care about fame and fortune and they don't even care about life and death. They are scary, but this is not a reason for me to escape. I don't care who they are and I don't care what they might do to me in the future. Just because they almost made me fall off the cliff and die, he owes me an explanation, owes my parents an explanation, and owes my Xia family an explanation. Fang Yan, they owe me an explanation. Xiaxia said with a voice like a knife. Slash after slash, the air and the atmosphere were broken into pieces, no longer complete and harmonious. Which child of an aristocratic family doesn't have a little arrogance? Some people show their arrogance on their faces so they become the idiots that everyone crushes. Some people hide their arrogance in their hearts, so many people praise them for not putting on airs. Xiaxia belongs to the kind of people who put their arrogance in their hearts. She put her arrogance in her heart, but it didn't mean that she was willing to be bullied. Before she understood what happened, she just thought that it was an accident. She put all her gratitude on Fang Yan. However, when she realized that it was a blatant murder, she was furious. Her feelings were divided into two. One was gratitude to Fang Yan, and the other was hatred for the murderer. No one can take away her life at will. Although for the killer she was just a chess piece that others wanted to deal with Fang Yan. Fang Yan understood what she was thinking. He sighed softly and said, His name is Snake Lord and he comes from Xianxia. If you want revenge, now is the right time, he is injured. Xiaxia pursed her lips and smiled, saying, You hurt him? Not me. It's someone else. Xiaxia thought for a moment and said, It seems that it's the Zhenren who wants to accept you as a disciple. It's really not a lucky thing for a woman to be too smart. Fang Yan said with emotion again. A senior said that a woman with great wisdom like a demon will either become a mistress or a nun. I know who the senior you are talking about is. Xiaxia giggled and said. Fang Yan asked with a smile, Who do you think it is? The Xin family's fairy soars into the sky to pick the clouds. Have you heard of this sentence? The smile on Fang Yan's face slowly froze, turning into an exquisite-looking genuine leather mask. There is no banquet in the world that never ends. This sentence is very tacky because such cases happen every day. Xiaxia brought Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin back to shoot a music video. After 2 days of hard work, one day was used to shoot the video and the other day was used to shoot some special scenes. The preliminary work was basically over. The post-editing and production had nothing to do with Fang Yan, and it would not be done in Hua City. There was an exclusive production company in Beijing in the summer. Of course, Fang Yan also made a request to Xianxia. After the video was cut, he had to review it. If it did not meet his aesthetic standards, he had the right to ban the video. Everyone was well aware of what Fang Yan's aesthetic standards were. He was busy with work in the summer, so he flew to Xiangtan to participate in a charity song. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were supposed to go back to Beijing with the group, but the two girls were reluctant to leave. Jiang Qin asked for a leave of absence from Xianxia, hoping to stay at home with his parents for a day. Xianxia was kind, so he naturally agreed. Thus, Jiang Qin, who had obtained Xianxia's permission, secretly ran to Fang Yan and asked Fang Yan to agree to one of her requests. What request? Fang Yan asked. Go shopping with me. Jiang Qin said. Fang Yan had a headache and said, we are an adult and a child. If we walk together, someone will definitely scold me for eating young grass. Why don't you find someone else? Isn't Yuan Lin fine? Ask her to go shopping with you, okay? When we were in Beijing, the two of us would go shopping almost every day. Who wants her to accompany me? I want you to accompany me. Can you accompany me? Mr. Fang, please, give me a reason. Fang Yan was unmoved. I want to buy a gift for my dad. You can help me with it. Jiang Qin said. Where did you get the money? Stupid teacher. Didn't Yuan Lin and I participate in Sister Xiaxia's MV? We both have to get paid. Jiang Qin said proudly. I used to spend my parents' money. This is the first time I have earned money myself. So, the first thing I want to do when I get the money is to buy a gift for my parents. Seeing the girl's innocent and sincere smile, Fang Yan's heart was moved. He smiled and said, I don't know how many people want to shoot a music video for Xia Tian. She not only brought the two of you in but also paid you. Just because of your filial piety, I promise you. However, I know you only have one day off. So, you have to stay at home with your parents all day tomorrow. Tomorrow night, I will go shopping with you. If you accept my conditions, I will agree to your request. Jiang Qin stretched out his finger and said happily, Come, let's pinky swear. Pinky swear. Don't change for 100 years. Fang Yan didn't pinky swear with her. Who wouldn't change for 100 years with this kind of kid? Fang Yan had just walked to the school gate when the phone in his pocket rang. He looked at the caller ID and saw that it was Huang Haoren. He asked, Haoren, what's the matter? Mr. Fang, not good. Huang Haoren's voice was very anxious. The boys in our class fought with others. Fight? Who? Fang Yan asked anxiously. Is anyone injured? With students from Ivy High School. Huang Haoren said. 2 people were injured and have been sent to the hospital. Fang Yan had an urge to pinch those bastards to death. You're a student. Your occupation is to study hard and make progress every day. Why are you fighting? What's there to fight? If you want to fight, come fight with me. Go fight with Tangqing. Which hospital? Fang Yan asked while gritting his teeth. Chapter 301. As soon as Fang Yan hung up the phone, someone shouted in his ear, Mr. Fang, what are you doing? Baldy. No, Captain Kai was standing behind Fang Yan with a smile, looking at Fang Yan as if he was looking at his lover. Fang Yan quickly took 2 steps back and said, Captain Kai, what's up? Don't call me Captain Kai, just call me Baldy. It's friendly, Baldy said generously. He looked at Fang Yan and asked, Mr. Fang, are you going back for dinner? I'm going back. Fang Yan nodded. Hurry up and go back, Baldy said. I just saw Zhang Chen go in through this door, he must be going to your house. Fang Yan immediately understood. Baldy had come over to get close to him because he wanted to freeload a meal at his house. Although Zhang Chen had successfully become Fang Yan's disciple, he still came to Fang Yan, Fang Yingying and Fang Haohen from time to time to make a meal to improve their lives. It had to be said that Zhang Chen's cooking skills were quite good. Could be said to be professional. Baldy became a frequent guest after spending 2 free meals at Fang Yan's house. Many times he came uninvited. Fang Yan looked at Baldy with a bitter smile and said, You should go home for dinner. I just received a call, something happened to the students. Something happened. Baldy was a school security guard, so he was quite sensitive to the safety of students. What happened? A few students from my class fought with students from Evergreen High School. 2 others were injured and hospitalized. Fang Yan explained as he walked quickly to the side of the road, ready to hail a taxi. I have to go to the hospital. Baldy grabbed Fang Yan and said, don't wait. It's rush hour now. You might not be able to hail a cab even if you wait for 2 hours. Let's go, I'll drive you. Fang Yan was shocked and said, Baldy, you bought a car? I bought it a long time ago, Baldy said arrogantly as he ran to the school gate. Fang Yan sighed in his heart. He thought to himself that the job of a school security guard was very lucrative. He could buy a car even without a rank. This is the car you bought? Fang Yan roared angrily. That's right. Baldy drove the car on the road, rampaging through the traffic and the sea of people like a fish diving into the sea, like a bird diving into the forest. Fang Yan thought that he might as well strangle the Baldy to death. In any case, when he saw those bastards fighting later, he would strangle a few of them to death. Killing one was killing a group was also killing. Baldy held the handlebars and nimbly avoided 2 young couples crossing the road. He explained to Fang Yan, who was sitting in the back without saying a word, the whole city is congested now. Only my car can run fast. From his explanation, Fang Yan could actually hear a faint sense of aloofness and pride. When they arrived at the entrance of the affiliated hospital, Baldy stopped the car and said, you go find your students first. I'll find a place to park. There are more and more cars these days and it's hard to find a parking space. Fang Yan jumped out of the back seat of the electric car. Baldy's short legs scratched the ground, and then he drove the electric car in the direction of the car shed. Fang Yan quickly ran to the inpatient department, and as he ran he called Huang Haoren. Which floor? Room 301 on the 3rd floor. Okay, I'll go there now. Their teacher is coming? Okay, you guys stay here first. I'll be there soon. Fang Yan didn't wait for the crowded elevator and he ran directly to the 3rd floor. The entrance to the corridor was room 301, and Huang Haoren was already waiting at the staircase. It wasn't a big deal for Fang Yan to joke around with the students normally, but when the students made a mistake he had to take it seriously and punish them severely. If you don't take this matter to heart, then they won't even consider it a big deal. They would do even more outrageous things in the future. Thus, Fang Yan walked in front of Huang Haoren with a straight face and asked in a deep voice, how did you fight? Why did you fight with them? Mr. Fang, they went too far. Huang Haoren saw that Fang Yan was angry and he explained with a red face. How did they go too far? Didn't Tangqing represent our school in the Huaqing High School basketball tournament? When the finals were held in the Huaqing Stadium, Tangqing had a conflict with the captain of the Ivy League high school basketball team. You know how strong Tangqing is. At that time the captain didn't get any advantage, so he held a grudge. Today when Tangqing and we were having afternoon tea at Baishatang, the basketball captain also brought his team over. When he saw that he had the advantage in numbers, he deliberately called our Rosefinch High School trash, saying that we were all trash produced by a trash school. He also called Mr. Fang. What did they call me? Fang Yan asked. Huang Haoren opened his mouth but didn't dare to say anything. What did they call me? Fang Yan pressed. They said that Mr. Fang relied on a woman to get his position, and then formed cliques in the school to fight against dissidents. A lot of teachers are dissatisfied with you and are just waiting for an opportunity. Huang Haoren carefully said this sentence. I didn't say that, it was their basketball captain who said it. What's the name of their basketball captain? Fang Yan asked. Ma Haitao. With Tangqing there, the injured person must be from the Ivy League high school, right? Yes, Huang Haoren said embarrassedly. They called us trash and Tangqing called them worse than trash. A group of them surrounded us and wanted to beat us up, but Tangqing rushed out alone and knocked them all down. After knocking them down, Tangqing said, look, you guys are worse than trash, right? Fang Yan was full of guilt. He felt that it was all his fault. He let all his students learn how to taunt. When Tangqing first entered the 9th class, he was such an upright and stupid child. How did he become like this in such a short time? Originally, there were only 2 injured people in the hospital, but Ma Haitao also said that his whole body was in pain after arriving at the hospital. He said that his internal organs were injured and he needed to do a full body checkup. He was also lying on the hospital bed. He's trying to blackmail us. Where's Tangqing? Fang Yan asked. He went home, Huang Haoren said. Fang Yan was so angry that he stomped his feet. This bastard, after injuring someone, he ran home to hide? Who are you going to ask to clean up your mess? However, based on Fang Yan's understanding of Tangqing, this kid was proud and arrogant. When someone came to provoke him, he thought that it was natural to teach them a lesson. Who would be willing to follow behind him and send him to the hospital? After injuring someone, he went home to sleep. Only Tangqing would do such a thing. Let's go in and take a look, Fang Yan said. Fang Yan followed Huang Haoren into the ward. The boys in the 9th class lowered their heads and didn't dare to look at Fang Yan's eyes. In the corner stood 2 tall boys. They stared fiercely at Fang Yan, who had just walked in. There were 3 boys lying on the hospital bed. 2 of them were playing mobile games and the other one was buried in sleep. When they saw Fang Yan come in, they only raised their eyelids and then went back to their own things. Fang Yan walked in front of the big boy on the far left who was playing mobile games and said, "Classmate, how do you feel? Who are you? Go away, don't disturb Grandpa when he's playing games. Let me tell you, Rosefinch, this matter isn't over. Just you wait, there will be a time for you to suffer," the big guy said with a rude and unreasonable expression. "How can you talk like that? What's wrong with me talking like that?" The big guy threw the phone in his hand on the quilt and said with a sneer, "What? Do you want to fight? I don't believe that you dare to beat me up in this hospital. Let me tell you, if you dare to beat up a student in the hospital, my friend will immediately put the video on the internet and wait for your Rosefinch to become famous all over the country. When that time comes, you guys will also become famous and become the shame of the students all over the country. Do you want to try? It's not a big deal for me to be beaten up. I'm just afraid that you won't dare to take it." Fang Yan looked at the big guy and sighed softly. He said, "If I make a move, do you think they will have the chance to take out their phones to take pictures? Who do you think you are? Superman?" The guy who was pretending to sleep suddenly jumped up. 2 purple marks appeared on his handsome face. It seemed that Tangqing had taken special care of him. "You Rosefinch people are all good at fighting, right? Come hit me here. Do you have the ability to kill me? Why would I beat you to death? You're not my biological son or my godson. No matter how much of a bastard you are, it's your family's business. Why should I teach an unfilial son like you a lesson on behalf of your father?" "What did you say? Say it again if you dare. Although I don't think I have much ability, I'm not afraid of satisfying your special hobby. Why would I beat you to death? You're not my biological son or my godson. No matter how much of a bastard you are, it's your family's business. Why should I teach an unfilial son like you a lesson on behalf of your father?" Ma Haitao's eyes were bloodshot. He clenched his fists and was about to rush toward Fang Yan. "Haitao, stop!" A thin and tall boy wearing glasses hurriedly stopped him. "Liang Lian, why won't you let me beat him up?" Ma Haitao shouted angrily. "If you beat him up, you'll fall into his trap," Liang Lian quickly explained. "Before, they were the ones who beat us up. We didn't fight back. If you beat him up now, it'll be a group fight. When that time comes, we'll all get beaten up. Wouldn't we be at a disadvantage?" Ma Haitao thought about it and forcefully suppressed the anger in his heart. He pointed at Fang Yan and said, "Kid, it's not over between us. Just you wait, don't walk alone at night." Fang Yan stared at this guy with his eyes wide open. Did you want to beat him up with a stick? Huang Haoren, Gao Lei, and a few other boys from Class 9 also looked at Ma Haitao in surprise. Was this guy crazy? How dare he pick on Mr. Fang? What should they say? Welcome. At that moment, there was the sound of hurried footsteps at the door of the ward. Chapter 302. The footsteps were hurried. It seemed that the person who came was quite angry. A middle-aged male teacher with a tilted head walked in angrily. Seeing Huang Haoren, Fang Yan, and the others standing at the door of the ward, he started scolding them. "Do you have any manners? Your teacher didn't teach you how to fight. What's wrong with that? Why are your manners so bad? How did good students end up in the hospital after being beaten up by you? Do you know who you beat up? They are all specially recruited students of the Ivy League. Your Rosefinch Secondary is not bad, but compared to our Ivy League, you're not even qualified to carry our shoes. Let me tell you, this matter is not over. No matter who from your school comes, this matter will not be over. It's useless for you to apologize. It's useless even if your teacher comes. Your school has to apologize. Your Rosefinch High apologizes to Ivy League High." There was also a slightly older man standing behind the middle-aged man. He seemed to be one of the leaders of the Ivy League High School. Huang Haoren and the other boys in Class 9 did not say a word, allowing the middle-aged teacher to attack them. For them, if the sky fell, there would be a tall person to hold it up. With teacher Fang Yan here, how could they be at a disadvantage? Lin Yubin thought that Huang Haoren and the others were silent because they were timid in front of the teacher. But he didn't know that these guys were all cunning and waiting to watch a good show. Lin Yubin was probably tired of scolding them. He pointed at the tallest Fang Yan and said, "Is there anyone on your side who can solve the problem? If there's no one, I'll call your headmaster." "Coming," Fang Yan said with a smile. He took a step forward and pointed at himself. "I'll solve the problem." Seeing Fang Yan step forward, Lin Yubin and Fang Jianhong were a little stunned. Who was this young man? Was this the attitude of Rosefinch Secondary in dealing with this matter? Letting a student solve the problem? It was because they mistook Fang Yan for Rosefinch's student that Lin Yubin pointed at his face and scolded him for a long time. Lin Yubin and Fang Jianhong flew into a rage, feeling that they had been insulted. The few Ivy League students also had strange expressions on their faces. Could this guy be a student cadre? What made him think that he could erase a case of assault? Who would give him face? "Who are you?" Lin Yubin stared at Fang Yan and asked. "I am their homeroom teacher, Fang Yan," Fang Yan said with a serious expression. The conflict between students from two different schools was a serious matter. Fang Yan had to handle it carefully. Otherwise, the school's reputation might be tarnished. It even caused a conflict between the two famous schools. "I can handle this matter on their behalf." "You're the full representative?" This time Fang Jianhong couldn't hold it in any longer. "What right do you have to represent them? You and I are not on the same level. Ask your dean to come over." Fang Yan looked at Fang Jianhong and said, "I don't think this matter has anything to do with position. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Could it be that this matter is right if our school's principal comes? Just because you're the head of teaching and I'm just an ordinary teacher, this matter is wrong? If everything is right and wrong based on the importance of position and rank, then what's the use of us teachers? What do the students need us to teach?" Huang Haoren and the others who understood Fang Yan's personality looked at each other and then quickly separated. They knew that teacher Fang Yan was going to play dirty again. "You," Fang Jianhong looked at Fang Yan mockingly and said, "What a sharp-tongued teacher. Just because you know how to talk, Rosefinch High School sent you over to solve the problem? Aren't they looking down on our Ivy League too much?" Lin Yubin laughed coldly and said, "I won't talk to you, I won't talk to you. If your school's leaders don't come, we will seal up the medical records of these students and send them to the Department of Education. I don't believe that the Department of Education won't give us Ivy League students justice. When that time comes, your Rosefinch High School will definitely have a hard time, right?" Fang Yan sighed softly and said, "Aren't you going too far by doing this?" "Going too far?" Fang Jianhong said with a smile. "Your students injured our students and hospitalized them. Who's going too far?" "The doctors can prove whether your students are injured or not," Fang Yan said. "But as a teacher, shouldn't you at least understand the cause and effect of the matter after coming here? You didn't ask anything and just grabbed Rosefinch's students and scolded them. Is this how you deal with the problem? Our students were seriously injured and hospitalized. Do you still need to ask about the cause and effect? Even if there's a dispute, you can't just hit people, right? Who allowed them to hit people? Who gave them the right to do so? Let me tell you, if you don't expel these students who hit people, we will take the case to the Department of Education," Fang Jianhong said angrily. "Director Fang, there's another culprit. His name is Tang Qing. He's the one who hit people the most. He will also be expelled." Ma Haitao, who had been lying on the bed pretending to be dead, hurriedly got up and said something to Tang Qing when he heard that the students who hit people were going to be expelled. He hated Tang Qing to the core. This time, no matter what, he wouldn't let him get away with it. Tang Qing was such a jerk. He hit his face in front of the girl he liked. After that, he told his first love that such a beautiful girl being with such a scumbag was a form of self-defilement. He also asked for his first love's phone number. Even now, his first love was still infatuated with him. She didn't pick up his calls and didn't reply to his messages. He had a very bad feeling about this. He dared to run away after hitting people? This kind of student is really audacious. Fang Jianhong was so angry that his body was trembling. He didn't run away. He just felt that this kind of thing was very boring, Fang Yan said with a smile. Your students first cursed and insulted others, then wanted to hit people. In the end, they were injured by the person they wanted to hit. Now they are lying in the hospital pretending to be dead. What kind of behavior is this? Shameless to the point of death? You're slandering me, Lin Yubin resolutely retorted. After hitting people, they still put all the blame on our students. Just thinking about it makes my heart cold. Whether it's like this or not, you can ask your students. Of course, I know that they definitely won't tell you the truth. You also don't want to believe the truth that you can't accept. You rushed here in a hurry. If you sincerely want to solve the problem, let's sit down and have a good discussion. Your students are responsible and my students are also responsible. Whoever should be responsible should bear the responsibility, and whoever should be in the wrong should apologize. I will definitely not be partial to my students, but if you keep pestering us endlessly and want to overwhelm us in terms of momentum or prestige, I'm afraid you will be disappointed. Director Fong, we didn't curse, nor did we take the initiative to hit people. It was Rosefinch's students who started it. Yes, that Tangqing thinks that he knows some kung fu, so he provoked us again and again. He even called us trash and said that Ivy League is a trash school, so we specialize in producing trash like us. Tangqing took a fancy to Zhao Lu, a girl from our school. He went up to Zhao Lu and asked for her phone number. Zhao Lu didn't give it to him, so he cursed at her. We couldn't stand it anymore, so we argued with him. These students from Ivy League came prepared. They had already discussed their lines and were not afraid that Fong Yan would expose them. You make it sound better than a song, Fong Jianhong said disdainfully. Your students hurt people, but until now I haven't seen you say a word of apology. Is this the attitude you have when dealing with problems? Director Fong, I would like to ask, from the beginning to the end, have you given me a chance to apologize? From the moment you appeared at the door of the hospital ward, you started to curse me and my students. Until now, have you discussed the truth of the matter with me? That's because you're not sincere enough. If you're sincere enough, you can also apologize when we scold you, Lin Yubin said. Fong Yan pointed at his face and said, What did you find on my face? What do you want to say? Lin Yubin said with an unfriendly look. He didn't care what he found on Fong Yan's face. Is there a word cheap written on my face? If not, why should I apologize to you when you scold me? It's fine if you don't want to apologize. Then wait until we hand over the evidence to the Department of Education. The Department of Education will punish you. At that time the problem won't be solved with an apology. Fong Yan nodded and said, As you wish. I believe that the leaders of the Department of Education will clear our names. Fong Yan glanced at Huang Haoren and said, Let's go. Fong Yan turned around and left, not looking at Fong Jianhong, Lin Yubin and the others anymore. Huang Haoren and the others hurriedly followed him out, leaving only the teachers and students of Ivy League in the ward. He left just like that. Lin Yubin said in disbelief as he pointed at Fong Yan's back. This Rosefinch High School is too arrogant, isn't it? Each of you write a confession letter and send it to the Department of Education with the medical records. Fong Jianhong said with a sinister smile. This time Ivy League and Rosefinch will not rest until one of us is dead. Ma Haitao's face showed a proud expression and said, Director Fong, I'll call my father now. Ma Haitao's father worked in the Department of Education and was quite powerful. This was also the main reason why he could be specially recruited by Ivy League and not be expelled for causing trouble everywhere. Director Fong said with a face full of smiles, Send my regards to Director Ma. Tell him that I'll visit him when he's free. No problem, Ma Haitao said with a reserved smile. Ma Haitao called his father in front of everyone and pretended to be extremely wronged and said, Dad, I've been bullied, you have to help me get justice. Shut up. A dignified man's voice came from the other end of the phone. I know what kind of shameful things you've done. Immediately apologize to Rosefinch's teachers and students. If they don't forgive you, I'll come back and break your legs. Ma Haitao's face was pale. This time he was really scared sick. In order to show off that he had a director father, Ma Haitao deliberately put the phone on speaker. So, everyone heard Director Ma's words. Fong Jianhong's face was extremely ugly. How could this be? Chapter 303. Fong Jianhong was unwilling. He took the phone from Ma Haitao and bowed respectfully. Hello, Director Ma, I'm Jianhong. I'm with Haitao. I think you have some kind of misunderstanding about the child. Haitao is the victim. He was injured without doing anything and is now receiving treatment in the hospital. Is Director Ma free? I want to rush over and report to you in person. Director Fong. Director Ma was no stranger to the school leaders of the Ivy League. His attitude softened a little. Are you sure Ma Haitao didn't do anything? This I know Haitao a little. If he did something wrong he would confess to us teachers. But this time he really felt wronged. His eyes are red. There was silence on the other end of the phone. Clearly Director Ma was moved by Fong Jianhong. What are you going to do? Director Ma asked. When the hospital's appraisal results are out, we want to send these medical records and the students' confessions to the education department, Fong Jianhong said. No matter what, we have to get justice for the students of our school. We can't let them suffer losses. The students' thoughts are the simplest and most innocent, but they have a strong sense of right and wrong. If they were wrong this time, it would have a profound impact on their lives. In order to convince Director Ma to stand on his side, Fong Jianhong even used some knowledge from education. If you don't help us get justice for your son, don't blame me when your son gives up on himself and goes down the wrong path. With Fong Jianhong's familiarity with Ma Haitao, this kid was already very crooked. His words would definitely come true. Director Ma naturally understood the meaning behind Fong Jianhong's words. He snorted and said, years of hard work can't withstand a small setback. Is there a problem with the teaching quality of the Ivy League school? Fong Jianhong broke out in a cold sweat. He quickly tried to salvage the situation. Director Ma, I'm just worried that this will happen. Haitao is your child and also my student. Who doesn't want him to get better and better? Don't you think so? I'll find out more about this, Director Ma said and hung up the phone. When Fong Jianhong returned the phone to Ma Haitao, he said with a strange expression, is someone pressuring your dad? Ma Haitao had just called to talk about this matter, but he already knew about it and immediately said that he wanted to apologize. Which true god did they move? Lin Yubin said with a gloomy face, oppressing people with power, lawless and out of control. How could they do such a dirty thing? How can such a person be qualified to be a teacher? Fong Jianhong glared at Lin Yubin, who hurriedly apologized and scolded Rosefinch for being shameless. Head Ma's name was Ma Wenxue. He wasn't the head of Huaqing's education department, but a deputy head who was ranked highly. Of course, with such a big Buddha in the education department, it was enough for Ma Haitao to do whatever he wanted in a high school. Ma Wenxue hung up the phone and felt a headache coming on. Although his immediate superior had just informed him that his son Ma Haitao should apologize to others and obtain their forgiveness, and he had verbally agreed to it, he still felt dissatisfied when he thought about it. His son was injured and hospitalized and he still had to apologize to the person who hit him. If word of this got out, where would he, Ma Wenxue, put his face? Moreover, what Fong Jianhong said made sense. Ma Haitao was his biological son after all, and if he got into a dead end because of this matter, he wouldn't be able to pull him back. He slammed his palm heavily on the table, then carried his teacup and walked to the head's office at the easternmost end of the corridor. Wang Wenhai was the head of the education department, and he was also the official who controlled this office. In the office, his words carried enormous weight, and Ma Wenxue didn't have the ability to wrestle with him. His subordinates often joked about Ma Wenxue's and Wang Wenhai's names, saying that one was Wenxue, and the other was Wenhai. From their names, it was obvious that Wenhai was older than Wenxue. What they said was the truth, and Ma Wenxue didn't even have the leeway to refute it. Of course, every time he heard such a comparison he felt a prickling feeling of discomfort in his heart. Ma Wenxue knocked on the door and entered. Wang Wenhai was on the phone with someone. When he saw Ma Wenxue come in, he glanced at him with a strange expression and gestured for him to sit on the sofa and wait for a moment. Wang Wenhai hung up the phone and looked at Ma Wenxue with a smile, asking, Wenxue, what's the matter? I know that you don't lack good tea here, so I brought the teacups just to ask for a cup of good tea to drink. Ma Wenxue said jokingly, deliberately trying to get closer to him. Old Ma, do you still lack good tea in your own office? I think you're too stingy. You can't bear to drink your own good tea, so you always ask for mine, Wang Wenhai said, pretending to be angry. Ma Wenxue was shocked. Wang Wenhai said that he was too stingy. Could it be that he already knew why he was here? Some people said that the way of being an official had 4 words: be bold and careful. Ma Wenxue had been immersed in officialdom for many years, so he had some understanding of these 4 words. Be it his superior or his subordinates, every word they said had a deeper meaning. Was this too stingy, just referring to Ma Wenshua's tea collection, or was it referring to something else? However, since he was here, he had to untie the knot in his heart. Otherwise, he would be scared off by Wang Wenhai with just one sentence and he would be looked down upon even more. Ma Wenshue said with a smile, "I've drunk the tea here and I feel that the tea in my office can't compare. I've been raised to be picky. Chief, you can't let me go back disappointed." Wang Wenhai sighed softly and said, "Are you here for your son's matter?" "Yes. To tell you the truth, I just called that kid and gave him a good scolding. I even said that I would break his legs when I got back. However, Feng Jian, the school's director, took the phone and reprimanded me. He said that I had wronged the kid this time. That kid is usually as stubborn as a cow, but today he actually knew to wipe his tears." Director Feng Jian also said that they would wait for the doctor's appraisal results to come out, and then send the students' confessions and medical records to the education department. At that time things would get out of hand. Ma Wenxue looked at Wang Wenhai sincerely and said, "I'm here to ask the chief how this matter should be handled." A hint of mockery appeared at the corner of Wang Wenhai's mouth, but it disappeared in an instant. Wang Wenhai looked at Ma Wenxue and said, "Wenxue, look at something first." As he spoke, he took out his mobile phone and sent a video to Ma Wenshue's mobile phone. As soon as Ma Wenhai opened the video, the sound of his son Ma Haitao, cursing like an unscrupulous hooligan. If he couldn't scold him, he would beat him. If he couldn't beat him, he would cry. Then he would lie on the ground and pretend to be dead. The content was simply unbearable to look at. Ma Wenxue had never thought that his obedient and sensible son would have such a side to him. Ma Wenxue felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He knew that he had been completely tricked by those bastards. The people over there had such evidence in their hands, and they could also send it to Wang Wenhai's book. This matter would not be easy to resolve. Wang Wenhai looked at Ma Wenxue and said, "Did you see it clearly?" "Chief, I was deceived by that bastard," Ma Wenxue said in a dry voice. "Old Ma, originally, for your sake and for the sake of the education department, they were prepared to turn this matter into a small one. This video will end here with me. That's why I called you and asked you to tell Haitao to apologize to the others, and this matter would be over. But since you feel that your son has been wronged and the Ivy League wants to seek justice for their student, it seems like we can't suppress it anymore. I'll leave this matter to you," Wang Wenhai said. "I'll leave it to you. I believe that you will definitely be able to handle this matter impartially." "I will. I will definitely handle this matter impartially. I will not be biased just because one of them is my son," Ma Wenxue said as he nodded solemnly. He felt extremely uncomfortable in his heart. He knew that his son was going to be unlucky and the Ivy League was going to be unlucky too. If they weren't unlucky, then he would be the unlucky one. "What a scam," he cried miserably in his heart. When Fang Yen brought a group of students downstairs, he happened to bump into Baldy, who had just parked his car and was running upstairs. Baldy saw Fang Yen and asked, "Has the matter been resolved?" "Not yet," Fang Yen said. "Then why did he leave?" Not only was Baldy confused, but even Huang Haoren and the others felt that it was strange. Mr. Fang had angered the Ivy League's dean Fang Jianhong to such an extent. Presumably they wouldn't just let it go, right? "Someone will help me resolve it," Fang Yen said with a smile. He turned to look at Huang Haoren and the others and said, "I won't ask you to write a reflection letter, so you probably won't feel that you've done anything wrong. I want you to write down the course of events and then think about whether there's a better way to resolve the problem. I have a language class tomorrow afternoon, and I'll look for you at that time to get your answers." "All right, Mr. Fang," the students replied. Fang Yen looked at Baldy and said, "Let's go. Drive me back." The students all laughed and said, "Mr. Fang, you came here in Baldy's battery-powered car?" These guys all knew that Baldy's car was in battery-powered car. Only I have too high expectations of him. Just as Baldy drove Fang Yen to the entrance of the hospital, a white BMW stopped in front of them. Tangqing opened the door and got out of the car. He looked at Fang Yen, who was sitting in the back seat of the battery-powered car, with a smile. Fang Yen jumped out of the battery-powered car, looked at Tangqing and scolded, "You bastard, you still dare to run over to see me? You hurt someone and ran away. Don't you have any shame? Who are you going to let clean up after you?" "Stop scolding, I know you're not angry," Tangqing said jokingly. Fang Yen was very depressed. He felt that he had been completely seen through by these students. Chapter 304. Fang Yan got into Tongqing's BMW, and the driver went out to smoke, leaving the space to the teacher and the student. Fang Yan looked at Tongqing and said, "Is the problem solved? If not, how would I dare to come to see you?" Tongqing said with a smile. "I was the one who beat them up. I can't just leave Huang Haoren and the others there to clean up my mess. Of course, I guess that Huang Haoren would definitely call you. He is your absolute confidant. He can't hide anything from you. How far are you going to go?" Fang Yan asked. Fang Yan was a teacher and he had a deep understanding of his students. Tongqing was a talented and arrogant person. Moreover, Fang Yan knew that Tongqing and Qin Etian had always had a good relationship. Qin Etian had such a shocking background. How bad could Tongqing be? Moreover, it was precisely because of Tongqing's extreme pride that he would take responsibility for what he did. He would never push the responsibility to others. Knowing that Tongqing was involved, Fang Yan was no longer worried that this matter could not be solved. He also did not worry that the result of this matter would be unfavorable to them. No matter who dealt with this matter in the end, they would have to give face to the Tang family. If the Tang family spoke. The reason why Fang Yan rushed here was that he was worried that his students would be hurt. However, after confirming that the students were not hurt, he was worried that the result of this matter would be unfair. Of course, this unfair and unjust mainly referred to the students of the Ivy League. You see, there are such selfless men in the world. He knew the power of the Tang family. He knew that if the Tang family spoke, even if Tongqing really hit people without reason, this matter could only be left unsettled. However, Fang Yan did not want to see this result. He hoped that his students could understand the meaning of right and wrong. He hoped that his students would know the big picture. He hoped that his students would not be infected with the bad atmosphere of society. "I was wrong, I apologize. If you are wrong, you will bear the consequences." Using one's power to oppress others was the worst thing to do. If they succeeded this time, they wouldn't think about right or wrong when they encountered similar situations in the future. Instead, they would think about who could help solve the problem. Students were the hope of the future of society. If the hope of the future was all like this, then where was the hope? Fang Yan was willing to discuss with the teachers and leaders of the Ivy League school to determine the nature of this fight. In the end, it was wrong for students to fight. He loved his students, loved the children of Class 9, but he would not indulge them too much. However, the performance of the Ivy League was really disappointing. This was also the reason why Fang Yan left angrily and allowed the situation to develop naturally. He knew that there was no way he could reason with Director Fang, who was full of power, and Teacher Lin, who scolded him without asking about the cause and effect. "Since you don't want to accept my kindness, then I'll treat you like a fart." He could do whatever he wanted with it. That depends on what they choose. Tongqing smiled proudly. "Anyway, I've done it politely and appropriately. If they want to turn a big problem into a small one, I can let them go. I'm a low-profile person. I don't want to cause a storm in the city and let others see me as a joke. How big is a small problem? To tell you the truth, I feel very embarrassed to hit them, but if they don't know what's good for them, then they can only blame it on their bad luck. I've already prepared a feast for them." Tongqing looked at Fang Yan and said, "However, Mr. Fang came out so quickly. It means that the old guys over there are not easy to talk to, right? The Ivy League has a bigger influence in the education circle of Huaqing than Rosefinch, so they have developed the bad habit of looking down on others even though they're the best in the world. This time I'll teach them a lesson." "What did you do?" Fang Yan asked. "I just asked someone to help me take a video of them arrogantly scolding people and taking the initiative to hit people." Tongqing smiled slyly. "Didn't you teach us? If the enemy doesn't move, we move first. Once we've identified our enemy, we have to think of a way to make ourselves invincible. This is what I taught you." "Absolutely. Using a phone to take pictures again. Isn't this too lame? Why don't you use such a useful technique?" Tongqing asked. "Those idiots still think they have the upper hand, but they don't know that we've been guiding them to do stupid things. Huang Haoren is the most cunning. He keeps showing weakness, but when he does, he shows his unyielding heroic spirit. They're about to go crazy with anger. Who else should they hit if not him? They wanted to beat up Huang Haoren, but you stood out to turn the tide and beat them down. That's because they're not strong enough. I can't do anything about it. I know your ability. There's probably no one in the entire student world of Huaqing who's your opponent." Fang Yan looked at Tongqing and said. Try not to use your fists to solve problems in the future. You're a student after all. Actually, I don't want to either, Tang Qing said. But Mr. Fong has already set an example. I have no reason not to follow the teacher's example. Seeing Fong Yan's murderous gaze, Tang Qing said casually, Mr. Fong, why didn't you shout in class about such a big event like the battle between you and the Japanese sword god? If you did, I could have brought my classmates to pull up banners and shout slogans for you. Unfortunately, I found out too late. I didn't see Mr. Fong's heroic appearance when he defeated the Japanese sword god. What a pity. Get lost, Fong Yan said angrily. This is my car. Fong Yan was stunned. He opened the door and was about to get out. Mr. Fong Qin, is she okay? Tang Qi asked from behind. Fong Yan's body stiffened. He said without turning his head, I don't know. Forget it, I won't ask. I hope she's fine. Tang Qing sighed softly. He sat back in the back seat of Baldy's electric scooter and let Baldy pull him through the noisy crowd. He saw the numbness and exhaustion on other people's faces, and they could also see the pain and sadness in his eyes. They were all people with stories. Jiang Qin looked really happy. She had been smiling since the moment she saw Fong Yan. She smiled and said to Fong Yan, Mr. Fong, are we going to Zhuangyin Street or Friendship Square? She smiled and said to Fong Yan, Mr. Fong, can you treat me to a bowl of fish balls? I like the fish balls here the most. She smiled and said to Fong Yan, Mr. Fong, why aren't you talking? Come, smile. She kept talking, kept walking and kept trying all kinds of snacks. Of course, because she was too lively, Fong Yan was dragged by her to talk, walk and eat snacks. Jiang Qin held a skewer of grilled squid in her left hand and a skewer of roasted corn in her right hand. She said with a face full of happiness, Mr. Fong, I think this kind of life is the happiest. Do you think I'm a good-for-nothing? Jiang Qin didn't know that when she stood on the world stage with a guzheng in her arms and carried forward Wuxia's classical music to the world, and was called the moon goddess by humans, what she missed the most was this kind of carefree civilian life with grilled squid in one hand and tender corn in the other. Fong Yan looked at Jiang Qin and said with a smile, It doesn't matter if you're successful or not. It's important to find happiness. If you think this is good, then pursue and enjoy this kind of life. No one said that you have to have a bright future. That's not feasible. Since I promised to promote our Wuxia's classical music with Sister Xia, I will definitely work hard for this goal. I've read a lot of information recently. Sister Xia's worries are indeed necessary and we really need to awaken. It's good that you can persevere, Fong Yan said. You've been busy eating along the way. Have you thought about what gifts to buy for your parents? Mr. Fong, do you have any good recommendations? Your dad likes to drink, but there's no point in buying wine. It's better to buy a watch. Fong Yan put forward his suggestion seriously. He promised Jiang Qin to come over and help her choose a gift, so he had to fulfill his responsibility. Jiang Qin was also Fong Yan's teacher. He was happy to see his student show his love in front of his own father, not his godfather. Jiang Qin's eyes lit up and said, Yes. I'll buy a watch for my dad. Who says a butcher can't wear a watch? A butcher's daughter must let her father wear a watch. After confirming his father's gift, Jiang Qin took Fong Yan's hand and ran to the friendship building next to them. There were many brand counters there, including mid-range and high-end brands. Fong Yan and Jiang Qin discussed for a while and prepared to buy a mid-range brand watch worth a few thousand yuan. In this case, even if Jiang Dai knew the value of the watch, he would still be willing to wear it. If he bought a watch worth tens of thousands of yuan, Jiang Dai would definitely hide it, so it would lose the meaning of buying a watch. Fong Yan let Jiang Qin pick the watch first and he walked to the restroom of the mall. He came to the restroom and was about to unzip the water when his hand suddenly stopped. He saw a frog. A green-skinned frog the size of a palm was squatting in the urinal, staring at him with wide eyes. Did not say a word, just like a plastic toy. However, Fong Yan knew very well that it was indeed a frog, a living frog. Fong Yan could see its eyes moving, could see its puffed cheeks moving up and down, could see its mouth opening and closing. Seeing a green frog in a urinal in a big city. Didn't this scene look very strange? If it were you, how would you deal with it? Fong Yan held his breath and a strong heat flow poured over the frog's head. Croak, 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 the frog cried fiercely. Chapter 305. Fang Yan returned to the watch counter. Jiang Qin held up a watch with a brown leather chain and said to Fang Yan, "Mr. Fang, does this watch look good?" The lady at the counter was amused and said, "You two are really interesting." "A girl calling her boyfriend a teacher, I've never heard of it before," Fang Yan quickly explained. "I'm really a teacher and she's my student." The lady at the counter smiled, but the way she looked at Fang Yan was a little strange. What teacher would bring his student to buy a watch? Moreover, their relationship didn't look like a teacher-student relationship. If it was really a teacher-student relationship, it proved that this guy was really a beast. He wouldn't even let go of his own student. "She's here to buy a gift for her father and I'm here to help with the reference," Fang Yan explained honestly. He was very afraid that others would misunderstand. Jiang Qin smiled and didn't care. He pulled Fang Yan's wrist over and put the watch on Fang Yan's wrist. He looked at it from left to right and said, "It looks good. It gives people a very elegant feeling when wearing it." Fang Yan took off the watch and said, "This one doesn't suit him. Your dad's wrist is much thicker than mine, and the leather chain doesn't suit him very well. You can choose a watch with an iron chain for him. It's better if it's rougher, I know." Jiang Qin nodded seriously. "I've already chosen it." As he said that, he raised another watch on the box on the counter and said, "This is the one I bought for my dad." That watch had an iron chain, the dial was bigger and the chain was longer. It was indeed suitable for the obese Jiang Dai. Fang Yan nodded and said, "This one is not bad. Your dad will probably like it." "What about this one? Do you think it looks good?" Jiang Qin asked. "This one." Fang Yan took off the watch in his hand and put it on the counter. He said, "One is enough. Why did you buy so many?" "Sir, this lady specially chose this one for you. She said you will definitely like it," the lady at the counter said with a smile. By selling 2 watches at once, she had completed her business for the day ahead of schedule. The more sales they made, the more commission they got. "Nonsense," Fang Yan refused. "I don't need you to buy me a watch." "But I have already bought it," Jiang Qin said aggrievedly and put the watch on Fang Yan's wrist again. "Sir, this lady has already paid for both watches," the receptionist said. She thought to herself that this man was really insensitive. A girl paid her own money to buy a watch for a guy, but the guy didn't appreciate it. This kind of guy was really blind. If it were me, I definitely wouldn't marry such a blockhead. Fang Yan looked at Jiang Qin and said with a serious expression, "Jiang Qin, I know you mean well. But you're still a student and there's a lot of money to be spent. Shall we return this watch? You don't have much money and you still have to buy a present for your mother, right? I'm just your teacher. I really don't need you to buy me such an expensive present." Fang Yan looked at the price tag. Each watch was worth more than 8,000 yuan. That was close to 20,000 yuan in total. For a student who was still studying, this was indeed not a small amount of money. "I've already chosen my mother's present," Jiang Qin said angrily. "Who said I don't have money? Do you know how much Sister Xiatian paid me in Yuanlin this time? Although I'm still a student, I've already started to make money. Sister Xiatian said that she'll give us more opportunities to be on camera. As long as we're on camera or participate in performances, we'll get money. In the future, I'll make more money than my dad every year. Besides, why can't you accept my present? You gave me tuition but you never charged me for it. If you didn't know Sister Xiatian, how could Yuan Lin and I have the chance to become Sister Xiatian's students? Yuan Lin also kept saying that she wanted to give you a present. I don't care, I've already bought it. If you don't accept it, then I'll..." Jiang Qin raised the watch in his hand and said with red eyes, "If you don't accept it, I'll smash it. Who wants to keep a gift that can't be given out?" Fang Yan sighed softly, took the watch from Jiang Qin's hand and said, "Okay. Then I'll accept this present for the time being. Thank you, Jiang Qin." Jiang Qin smiled and said, "You're welcome, Mr. Fang." Jiang Qin helped put the watch on Fang Yan's wrist. He looked left and right and said, "It's really nice. You really have good taste. Moreover, this is the first gift I've bought with money. It's so meaningful." Fang Yan's heart was heavy. Jiang Qin used the money he earned for the first time to buy gifts for his parents and himself. How could he bear such love? Fang Yan said with a smile, "You gave me a present. I'll treat you to dinner." "I want to eat steak." "No problem," Fang Yan said. When the staff brought the warranty card and invoice, Fang Yan and Jiang Qin turned and walked to the 4th floor of the mall. That floor was a food court with many restaurants to choose from. What gift did you choose for Sister Li? Fang Yan asked curiously. Travel. Jiang Qin smiled proudly. My mother has worked hard all her life. She used to earn pocket money by setting up a stall to support my studies. She never had a chance to go out. If I go back to Yanjing tomorrow, my mother will be reluctant. She will cry when I leave. So, I secretly booked a plane ticket for her and then I will take her to Yanjing. She can accompany me and not be separated so quickly. She can also enjoy the scenery of Yanjing. Am I very smart? Fang Yan touched Jiang Qin's head dotingly and said, That's a good idea. Sister Li has worked hard all her life. When you make money in the future, let her enjoy a good life. Of course. Jiang Qin turned her head away unwillingly. She didn't like Fang Yan touching her head. He felt like a little kid. Jiang Qin chose a French restaurant, and the two of them found a table by the window. The waiter brought the lemonade and menu. Jiang Qin took the menu skillfully and ordered. Not only did she order her own, but she also ordered one for Fang Yan that suited Fang Yan's taste. This made Fang Yan very satisfied. Mr. Fang, I know your family is in Yanjing, right? Sort of, Fang Yan said. Fang Yan's home was in Yanjing, but it was still a distance from Yanjing City. It was closer to Tianjin City. In a month, the students will have their holidays. Are you going back to Yanjing at that time? Jiang Qin asked slyly. Fang Yan looked at Jiang Qin and said, What evil idea do you have now? When you go back to Yanjing, we will also have our holidays. Yuan Lin and I want to walk around Yanjing. Can you be our tour guide? Fang Yan thought about it and said, I'll decide then. I have a lot of things to deal with after the holidays. Because Fang Yan didn't agree immediately, Jiang Qin was a little disappointed. But she knew that Fang Yan was soft-hearted. As long as she could find a chance to beg again, he would definitely agree. It would be best if Yuan Lin, that little troublemaker, could come along as well. Yuan Lin's presence could increase the success rate, but Jiang Qin was a little unwilling. She was really conflicted. When Jiang Qin was about to drink the lemonade on the table, Fang Yan suddenly stopped her and said, Don't move. What's wrong? Jiang Qin looked at Fang Yan and asked. Fang Yan took the cup from Jiang Qin and stared coldly at a red filament in the cup. If one didn't look carefully, it would be easy to mistake the red filament for the fiber in the lemon. But under Fang Yan's gaze, he could see the filament moving up and down, left and right. It was alive. Red thread snake. It could enter the human body through liquids and various carriers, and then grow and multiply in the human stomach. Finally, the densely packed red thread snake would pierce through the stomach, skin and flesh and then crawl out of the skin. At that time, half of its body would be in the flesh and the other half would be outside. At first glance, it would look like its body was stained with countless red threads. The threads were floating in the wind, but in fact the red thread snake was shaking its head. This was the strangest and cruelest way to die. Unclean. Jiang Qin also moved his little head over, looked at it carefully and asked, What's inside? Nothing, Fang Yan said with a smile. He took the initiative to take Jiang Qin's hand and said, Let's go to another restaurant. Why do you want to change? Jiang Qin asked. But seeing Fang Yan's big hand holding his little hand, the voice of resistance immediately became much smaller and he said, Mr. Fang, are you taking me to eat delicious food? Yes, Fang Yan said. They walked to the busy street and bought some snacks at the roadside shops. Fang Yan held a bowl of beef meatballs and said, Didn't you say that this is the happiest life? Jiang Qin pouted and said, Stingy. Fang Yan saw a park in front of them and there was a man-made lake in the middle of the park. There were many couples rowing in the middle of the lake, so he said to Jiang Qin, Do you want to take a boat? Jiang Qin suddenly became interested and said happily, Okay, let's go rowing. So the two walked over, rented a small boat and rowed to the center of the lake. Folk songs are like the spring river, not afraid of dangerous shoals and many bends. Jiang Qin was in a good mood and she took the initiative to sing a folk song. Her voice was sweet and crisp with a young girl's coquettishness, and it attracted many cheers from the surrounding people. Fang Yan smiled and clapped, and he really enjoyed Jiang Qin's singing. His eyes, however, took in all the movements in the middle of the lake. In the shadow of the woods by the shore, a pair of triangular eyes stared fiercely at the boat in the middle of the lake. Where there is water is my kingdom. You are courting death. The triangular eyes had a ferocious smile on his face. Chapter 306. The artificial lake in the center of Tianhu Park was also known as the Lover's Lake because many couples would row boats in the middle of the lake and pledge their love. That was how it got its name. Of course, not only couples but parents would also bring their children here to play during holidays. After Jiang Qin finished singing the song Mountains and Rivers Are Like Spring Water, Fang Yan had already rowed the boat to a remote area far away from the crowd. Jiang Qin looked around and said with a blushing face, "Mr. Fang, why did you row the boat here? Is there any good scenic spot here?" "Because it's dangerous here," Fang Yan said. "Dangerous?" Jiang Qin's heart was beating fast. The middle of the lake was so lively, but Mr. Fang deliberately didn't go there and deliberately rowed the boat to this oblique angle. Did he want to? What should I do? Should I pretend to accept or pretend to be reserved and push him aside? But if I do that, will he not like me anymore? What if he gets angry? He said it was dangerous here, so it meant that he must want to do something to me. He said it so clearly. Should I do something in response? The young girl's heart was budding and she didn't even know what love was. She just saw some cliché scenes from books and TV, and then put herself into the story. This kind of perturbed and sweet feeling was something they had never experienced before. "Yes. It's very dangerous," Fang Yan said. Fang Yan's expression was serious and his eyes swept around coldly. He said, "Just now in the restroom of the mall I saw a frog in the urinal." "Ah?" Jiang Qin exclaimed. "Isn't that too cute? Where's the frog?" "I trampled it to death," Fang Yan said in a deep voice. "When we were eating in a French restaurant, the waiter served us a glass of lemonade with a rare little snake called the red viper. If we drank that glass of lemonade, those little snakes would suck our stomach blood and reproduce in our stomachs." "There's a snake?" Jiang Qin's eyes widened. Until then she finally realized that something was wrong. She was in a really dangerous situation, but this danger was not brought by Fang Yan. "Yes. There are snakes." Fang Yan nodded. "I know a very powerful person. He is known as the Xianxia snake monarch. I've been sending people to look for his whereabouts. Obviously he's not going to let me go so easily. Although I don't know how the hatred between the two of us started. Today is really not a good day to meet him. At the very least I should send you back first. However, I know that this kind of person tends to go to extremes. If I send you back, you and your family may suffer. He has been following us and I can't guarantee that he won't do anything to your family." "So you used us as bait?" Jiang Qin asked. She was naturally intelligent and Fang Yan had already said it so clearly. How could she still not understand? "Yes." Fang Yan nodded. "He is a big monster. He can use all kinds of poisonous snakes and fierce beasts. The frogs in the toilet, the red-lined snakes in the cup, and even a group of poisonous snakes and scorpions might crawl out from under the blankets when we were lying on the bed. He hid in the dark and gave commands remotely, making it impossible for us to defend against these killer moves. He can try 100 times, but if we get hit once, everything will be over." There was one more thing that Fang Yan didn't mention. Whether it was the poisonous frogs or the poisonous snakes or the upcoming assassination, the Snake Lord was trying to force her to abdicate. If a person followed you like gangrene, plotted against you, then you would not be able to escape. Be on your guard when you eat, be on your guard when you sleep, be on your guard when you open your eyes, and be on your guard when you close your eyes. It was easy for a person to become mentally and physically exhausted when living in a state where every bush and tree was an enemy. This would shake Fang Yan's indifferent state of mind. If the tranquil state of mind was damaged, the heart of Taiji would be covered in dust. No Dao seeker would be willing to face the fact that their cultivation did not advance and instead regressed. At that time, as long as Fang Yan made a small mistake, the Snake Lord would attack and kill Fang Yan. The Snake Lord could wait, but Fang Yan couldn't. Fang Yan had the ability to protect himself, but what about the people around him? What about his students? Fang Yan's plan to lure the enemy was to put himself in a desperate situation. He knew that he was taking a great risk by doing this. He even took the initiative to pull the battle line to the lake, where the Snake Lord was best at fighting. The Snake Lord was king when encountering the water. He believed that the Snake Lord would not be able to resist such a temptation. He would not be able to resist. Jiang Qin sat down quietly, looked at Fang Yan and asked, "What can I help you with?" "You don't have to do anything," Fang Yan said gently. Just sit there quietly. No matter what you see, don't panic. I will do my best to protect you. As long as I'm alive, you will be alive as well. There was something else that Fang Yan didn't say. If he died, Jiang Qin would probably not be able to survive either. But this was the only choice. It was also the best choice. He was confident in himself. I believe in you, Jiang Qin said. I'm not afraid at all. I know that you will protect me anyway. Not only was she not afraid, but she even took out 2 pieces of gum from her bag. She forced one into Fang Yan's mouth and kept the other in her mouth. She looked around but didn't see anything unusual. He's here, Fang Yan said. As soon as Fang Yan said that, the calm surface of the lake began to ripple. At first it was only a slight tremble like water being blown by the wind. But soon the waves began to roll like boiling water towards the boat that Fang Yan was on. Whoosh! The loud sound of water could be heard. Then countless toads jumped up from the bottom of the water. Because there were too many of them and they were too densely packed together, they looked like an ugly monster that had emerged from the bottom of the water. The poison on the toads' bodies wasn't brown but dark red. It was as if they had acne that was about to mature. Their eyes weren't black but dark red. They didn't scream and their bodies looked stiff when they jumped. Zombie toads. They fed the toads with corpse energy and let these toads absorb the corpse poison. In the end, they became the most evil and ferocious poisonous creatures in the world. The difference between zombie toads and other poisonous snakes was that they could be bred in batches. They only needed to use ordinary toads as raw materials and let them live in the land of extreme negative energy for 3 years. In order to deal with Fang Yan, Snake Lord used all the zombie toads he brought out. The zombie toads were controlled by Snake Lord. One by one they pounced towards Fang Yan and Jiang Qin on the boat. Jiang Qin was so scared that her face turned pale. She didn't even know that she had swallowed her gum. She had promised Mr. Fang that she wouldn't panic no matter what happened. But these toads were too ugly and disgusting. Although they hadn't bitten her yet, Jiang Qin already had goosebumps all over her body. Fang Yan's face was dark and his eyes were as sharp as daggers. The heart of Tai Chi was fully activated and the Tai Chi realm instantly appeared. Then everything around him appeared in his mind. The toad's wide open mouth, the bulging red pustules on its body, the water droplets on its body when it jumped, the dead leaves rippling in the middle of the lake, and the white stripe running away in a panic. Wagging its tail, Jiang Qin jumped into Fang Yan's arms. Fang Yan hugged Jiang Qin with one hand and slapped the surface of the lake with the other. The clouds were calm but the clouds were surging. Cloud expelling palm. Boom! It was as if a miniature bomb had been dropped on the bottom of the lake. The water rippled more than 10 feet high, and a human wall appeared out of thin air, blocking the zombie toads. What was more shocking was that there was a vacuum between the boat and the water wall. The lake water was swept up by Fang Yan's palm and the black silt was exposed. There was also a small fish jumping and struggling in the silt in fear. It couldn't understand why all the water on its head had suddenly disappeared. The zombie toads were blocked by the water wall, but they continued to charge towards Fang Yan. Bang bang bang, the sound of knocking could be heard incessantly. The curtain of water was like a solid wall. The toads charged forward again and again, but one by one they fell into the water. Because of this, the boat that Fang Yan was in was like an arrow that had been released from a bow, and it flew away. When the boat was far away, the water curtain came crashing down and covered the silt again. The zombie toads regained their freedom, and once again chased after Fang Yan's boat. Clap, 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 they jumped stiffly and the ones below pushed against the ones above while the ones above jumped higher and further towards Fang Yan's boat. When they got close, Fang Yan struck out with his palm again. Boom! The toads were blocked by the water wall again. This time it didn't just block them. The water wall turned into a water dragon sweeping towards them. Roar! Wherever the water dragon passed, the toads all disappeared. When the water dragon disappeared, they popped their heads out of the water in a daze, not understanding how they got here. It was also when Fang Yan struck again that the Snake Lord appeared. It leaped out of the water at the bow of the ship and clawed at Fang Yan's head. He wore a black steel finger glove on his right hand, and each finger glove was smeared with the Snake Lord's blood. The snake blood couldn't be washed away by the wind, and it could exist for hundreds of years. His triangular eyes flashed with a fierce light, and the smile on his face was so bright. The extreme contrast made people's hearts palpitate. He knew that he had succeeded. After guarding for so many days, he succeeded overnight. He wanted to crack open Fang Yan's skull and carve out 5 holes on the top of his skull. Then he would use them to raise zombies. Only a zombie that had eaten a human's brain could become a ghost king. Yes, he was currently lacking an intelligent ghost king. Chapter 307. After a punch was thrown, one needed to retract it and accumulate strength again. That way the next punch would have the same amount of strength. The same went for human strength. The most dangerous state was the blank period when one's old strength had been exhausted and new strength had not been generated. That was when the human body's defense was at its weakest. If one could find this point, even someone who was far weaker than oneself could take the opportunity to win. The Snake Lord had been lurking under the water for a long time. First he attacked Fang Yan with the zombie toad. When Fang Yan counterattacked with his palm, he finally found an opportunity to attack. Since he was called the Snake Lord, he was naturally good at swimming. He was more carefree in the water than on land. When he jumped out from the bottom of the lake, he barely brought up any water droplets, nor did he make any sound. Like a water ghost, he suddenly emerged from the water without a sound, catching people off guard. Timing, location, and people. The Snake Lord thought that he had the upper hand, and he was confident that he could scratch Fang Yan's skull with one claw. However, at this moment something surprising happened. Fang Yan suddenly turned around with a gratified and sarcastic smile on his face. "You finally came out. You finally came out?" This was a conspiracy, a trap. The Snake Lord knew better than anyone else. Fang Yan had long known of his existence, and he had long known that Fang Yan knew of his existence. He knew that he was not deceived. When Fang Yan discovered his existence, he still dragged the battlefield to the center of the lake to lure him out to fight to the death. Fang Yan thought that he could get rid of the Snake Lord by inviting him into the lake, but the Snake Lord thought that he was the king who could win in the end. When the Tao rises 1 foot and the devil rises 10, who will attain the Tao? Who could become a demon? Now his claws were about to pierce through his scalp and pierce through his skull. What could he do? Crack. The Snake Lord's claws could not reach out. There was a big hand on his arm. That hand grasped the major acupuncture points on his arm, such as Zhigo, Huizong, and Lao, numbing his body and making him unable to move. His leaping body was still suspended in the air. However, that was not because his ability to stay in the air was amazing, but because Fang Yan had lifted him up in the air. His body was in the hands of Fang Yan, and his life was also in the hands of Fang Yan. He couldn't believe his own eyes. Fang Yan was obviously exhausted, and his body didn't even have time to turn around. How did he grab his wrist first? The Snake Lord did not know that after the Taiji heart was unleashed, his speed in the Taiji realm was not worth mentioning in Fang Yan's eyes. Intercepting his attack was not a difficult task. The Snake Lord's expression changed unpredictably. In the end, it became as fierce as ever. "How did you do it?" Snake Lord asked in a hoarse voice. Looking at the pair of triangular eyes and the patches of skin on his face that looked like snake scales, Fang Yan felt nauseous. The poison attacked his heart and seeped into his body. His body actually had some characteristics of a poisonous snake. As a Libra who loved beauty and had high taste, he really couldn't stand a human who looked like this. "I wanted to do it and I did it," Fang Yan said with a smile. Crack. Fang Yan used his strength and crushed one of Snake Lord's arms. This monster's body was full of poison and he could use those strange poisons. Fang Yan didn't want to give him any chance to fight back. Fang Yan didn't want something stupid like failing in an easy task to happen to him. "Ah!" Snake Lord screamed. He was clearly in so much pain that his facial features were scrunched up, but there was a cruel smile in his eyes. When he opened his mouth, a stream of red blood sprayed toward Fang Yan's face. Puff. Snake Lord's most poisonous skill was not his killing technique, but his poisonous fangs and poisonous blood. The poisonous blood stained his body and rotted his skin and flesh. Fang Yan's large hand was still grabbing onto one of the Snake Lord's arms and lifting him into the air. The two of them were very close. When he spat out a mouthful of poisonous blood, the Snake Lord opened his mouth and laughed loudly. Close combat was his forte. Using one of his arms to exchange for Fang Yan's life was a worthwhile trade. This was his variation. A backup move when a sneak attack failed. Who would have thought that his lips could be used as a spear and his blood could be used as a sword? Fang Yan had a contemptuous smile on his face. Then he retracted his arm and brought the Snake Lord's body back with him. Then while the Snake Lord racked his brains and could not figure out what was going on, the Snake Lord stood in front of Fang Yan. In other words, Fang Yan used Snake Lord's body to block his own poisonous blood. The red poisonous blood splattered on Snake Lord's body. The skin that was exposed outside his clothes was rotting and falling off at a speed visible to the naked eye. His pale skin turned into black spots. The poisonous blood actually burned his skin red. From this, it could be seen that the poisonous blood was extremely poisonous. Snake Lord's body trembled in pain, but his brain did not seem to be aware of any of this. He stared blankly at the dense holes that had just appeared on his body. His eyes were full of fear and confusion. Is this magic? Of course this was not magic. This was the heart of Tai Chi. Fang Yan's speed was faster than Snake Lord's. In the Tai Chi realm he was the master of everything. When Snake Lord bit his fangs and tongue, Fang Yan guessed what he wanted to do. When he sprayed out the venom mixed with blood and fangs, Fang Yan had already lifted his body back and used it as a shield. However, Fang Yan's speed was so fast that even the person himself did not realize it. When Snake Lord's eyes and consciousness deceived him, when he thought that he was only being lifted in the air by Fang Yan, his body was actually already in front of Fang Yan. Among the supreme beings in the world, only speed could not be defeated. When one's speed reached an extreme, it would give off a magical feeling. This was also the reason why Snake Lord misunderstood that what Fang Yan used was a magic trick. Flap. Fang Yan threw Snake Lord, who had completely lost the ability to resist, on the deck, stepped on his neck and said with a smile, "This is not magic, it's Kung Fu. Wuxia Kung Fu. You have been hiding in the snake cave of Xianxia for too long. You must not know much about the real Wuxia Kung Fu, right?" Snake Lord's eyes turned scarlet and he said with hatred, "Will you kill me?" "Of course," Fang Yan said frankly. "I don't like to be at a disadvantage. If you scold me, I will scold you back. If you slap me, I will slap you back. You tried to assassinate me twice, but I can't kill you twice. I still let you take advantage of me." At the end of his words, Fang Yan sighed softly. There was a touch of sadness and regret in Snake Lord's eyes, and he said with an incomprehensible expression, "What if I make a deal with you?" "Deal?" Fang Yan looked at Snake Lord with a playful look and said, "What deal?" "You kill me, but it means nothing to you," Snake Lord said. "You don't even know why I want to kill you." "That's right," Fang Yan said. "But sometimes, you don't need to understand the cause and effect of everything so clearly. You wanted to kill me, but I killed you. Isn't that more concise and clear? If you have the chance to kill me and I say I want to make a deal with you, will you agree? If you won't agree, why do you think I will? Isn't this too unfair to me? Why is your money valuable but my life can be used for a deal?" Fang Yan's words were so reasonable that Snake Lord was stunned for a long time, and he was speechless. Snake Lord lay there stiffly, waiting for Fang Yan to break his neck with his foot. His honesty made Fang Yan a bit hesitant. He stepped on Snake Lord's neck with his foot and said, "Tell me about your deal, we're both free anyways. This was a park and this was the artificial lake of the park." Snake Lord could kill and burn without restraint, but Fang Yan couldn't. Because of that, Fang Yan said that they still had some time. Snake Lord's eyes showed a bit more hope and said, "In order to save my sister, they forced me to kill you. They were too hurried and I didn't have any time to rest. Even though I was already heavily injured." "Who are they?" "I don't know. I only know that they were very powerful. I couldn't resist at all. I didn't even know how to resist. They easily took my sister away and said that as long as I killed you, they would let her go," Snake Lord explained with his extremely uncomfortable voice. "I wanted to save my sister, that's why I was in such a hurry to kill you. The first time on Xianxia Mountain when I was about to succeed, an old Daoist ruined my plan. This time I failed again. I knew that as long as I died they would kill my sister. Only if I lived could my sister live. If I died, my sister would also die." "Your sister?" Fang Yan stared at Snake Lord's triangular eyes and thought, what kind of person is this guy's sister? "Yes. She's the only family I have in this world." Snake Lord's expression became gentle. A rare hint of affection that shouldn't have appeared on his face appeared in his eyes. "She's the only one who doesn't despise me for being a monster, the Snake Lord that everyone fears. She's the only family I have in this world. And the only one who's willing to listen to me." Fang Yan actually felt a bit of sympathy for him. This guy was really pitiful. Because of his ugly appearance, he was probably a freak in other people's eyes since the day he was born. His parents despised him, his companions feared him, and no one wanted to be friends with him or even get close to him. He could only talk to flowers, grass, and every tree in his forest. Luckily, he had a sister. She didn't want him to look ugly, she didn't despise him for being with snakes, she was willing to talk to him and even sang him a not-so-pleasant mountain song. That was his life, a treasure that he swore to protect with his life. Chapter 308. The Snake Lord's life was even more pitiful than Fang Yan had imagined. He didn't even know who his parents were. He had been living in the village's welfare home for as long as he could remember. There were many children in the welfare home. Most of them were abandoned by their parents because they had all kinds of problems like him. It was only when he was there that he didn't encounter discrimination and ridicule, at least not from his peers. However, they had to be beaten up by the director. The director was a fat middle-aged woman. When there were outsiders, she would talk to them with a kind face. Her voice was clear and her plump face was full of smiles. She would even personally help them wipe the rice off the corners of their mouths. However, when those kind donors or university students who used their spare time to show their love left, she would change into a different person. She would either beat them or scold them. Many children didn't resist because they didn't know what resistance was. They were stupid and couldn't react at all. 2 of them didn't even know how to cry. No matter how they were beaten or scolded, they just stood there and laughed foolishly. They didn't even know how to wipe their mouths. The younger sister wasn't the Snake Lord's biological sister. She was also adopted by the welfare home. She was dark and skinny. Her name was Little Bean Sprout. Once, when the director was beating Little Bean Sprout with a feather duster, the Snake Lord bumped into the director from behind. The director and her dark and fat husband shouted that they were going to drown the 2 of them in the pond. From then on, the 2 of them started their own lives. Fortunately, there were many strange people in Xianxia. The Snake Lord was found and adopted by his master, One-Eyed Layman. Little Bean Sprout also had a place to stay. One-Eyed Layman didn't treat the Snake Lord well, but he wasn't bad either. Most importantly, he taught the Snake Lord everything he knew about controlling snakes. He thought that the Snake Lord was a genius. The first time the Snake Lord heard the word genius was from his master. He never thought that someone would think that he was a genius. When the Snake Lord was a teenager, One-Eyed Layman left and never came back. As a result, the Snake Lord only had his younger sister as his family and the poisonous creatures he raised in this world. If it wasn't for his sister, no one would care that he was alive and no one would know that he was dead. He had come to this world, but many people did not know of his existence. Like those trees or rocks, he could also be a green-skinned snake. He would not leave any memory in people's minds. "I will only live if my sister is alive," said the Snake Lord. "If my sister dies, I won't live alone. So, I want to make a deal with you. Only if I'm alive will I have a chance to save my sister." Fang Yan looked at the triangular eyes of the Snake Lord lying on the deck and said, "If that's the case, I might as well kill you. When those people find out that you're dead, they'll kill your sister too. You'll still be together, isn't that good?" The Snake Lord was once again rendered speechless. "I don't care how pitiful you are, and I don't care how much you love your sister. You killed me twice, so I'll kill you twice. That is, if I can do it." Fang Yan coldly said, "Of course, why don't you tell me the details of your deal? If I happen to be interested, you might be able to keep your life. In my eyes, your life is worthless, but because you killed me, I want to kill you and you're worth tens of thousands of gold coins. So if your offer isn't enough to tempt me, then the deal is off." "Do you want a snake slave?" the Snake Lord asked in a hoarse voice. "Snake slave?" Fang Yan was surprised. He stared at the Snake Lord with a burning gaze and asked, "Are you willing to be my snake slave?" There was a record of the Snake Lord in the 100 Eras classics. Born in Xianxia, the king of snakes. The flame of inheritance is passed down from generation to generation. Only when the old Snake Lord dies will a new Snake Lord be born. If they are willing to respect humans as their master, humans will be able to command hundreds of insects. Unfortunately, there was no detailed description of how to make the Snake Lord a snake slave. This must be a secret of the Snake King clan. "Yes," the Snake Lord firmly said. "Because I want to live, I want to save my sister. As long as my sister is alive, I am willing to be your slave. A bloodthirsty poisonous beast that kills and burns enemies for you. If my sister dies, then I will explode and die to accompany her. The great snake lord will not accept any human's orders. This is a choice that goes against my nature. Fang Yan exerted force with his foot, causing the snake lord to think that his head was about to be separated from his lower body. Fang Yan said with a look of disdain, "What bullshit, snake lord? You think you're the king of snakes just because you know how to play with a few snakes and raise a few toads? You're being stepped on by me and your life is hanging by a thread, yet you don't see your subjects coming to save you? Don't think of yourself as important. You're nothing but an ugly monster that plays with snakes. What? You don't like what I have to say? You're angry? You want to kill me? You want to explode? Come on, be angry. Kill me. Explode." The snake lord's chest was heaving up and down, breathing sounds were coming out of his mouth and coming in again. "Greedy, cunning, vicious, going back on your word and saying things that are as untrustworthy as farts. You have a strong ego so the lives of others aren't precious? You kill people at every turn, yet you can't stand it when people call you ugly? Who do you think you are? I only need to lift my foot to kill you. That's no different from stepping on an ant. Kill me. Hurry up and kill me," the snake lord shouted with a cruel voice. The snake lord was an impatient person, he couldn't stand such humiliation and humiliation. "See, even killing you is up to me to decide," Fang Yan sneered. "Now you know you're not that important, right? You're only begging me to spare your lowly life, don't even talk about making a deal with me. What right do you have to make a deal with me? Tell me," Fang Yan's voice softened a bit. "How do you want to become my snake slave?" The snake lord's triangular eyes hesitated for a split second, but still spoke up. "I'm willing to serve you as my master, I swear to obey your orders with my life. I don't believe your verbal promises." "At least I won't believe your words," Fang Yan said. "In order to save your sister, you came all the way here to kill a stranger like me. If I let you go now, you might not be able to save your sister and listen to their orders to come back to kill me. Would I do such a stupid thing?" The snake lord's expression kept changing, but in the end he gritted his teeth and said, "I'm willing to make a blood oath." "A blood oath? A blood oath? No need, I don't want your dirty blood to stain my clothes. I'll give you the snake eye," the snake lord said. "Snake eye?" Fang Yan was secretly happy but didn't show it. "What's that? Tell me. If it's not good, then this deal is over. I don't have the patience to keep you company. Give me a bit of power," the snake lord said. The tip of Fang Yan's foot loosened a bit, allowing the snake lord to gain a bit of power. His hands could move. His feet could move. His head could also move. However, all of these movements were under Fang Yan's control. He knew that if he resisted even the slightest bit, a thunderous strike would be waiting for him. Just one strike would be enough. After one strike he would die. The snake lord took off the black iron glove on his finger, then suddenly reached out with his claw and gouged out his left eyeball. Blood and flesh. Blood splattered everywhere. The snake lord took out a cowhide bag from his pocket and put his eyeball into it. He then gave the blood-stained pouch to Fang Yan and said, "This is the snake eye that I've painstakingly practiced for 20 years. Now I'm your true snake slave. My life and death are in your hands. If you show even the slightest bit of dissatisfaction, I'll be devoured by your poisonous blood. If you crush the eyeball in the bag, no matter how far I am, I will die on the spot." Fang Yan took the bag and weighed it in his hand. He said, "Why should I believe what you said? What if I let you go and you disappear in the blink of an eye? Do you think it's a snake's eye just because you say so? If I crush it and you still don't die, wouldn't that be a huge loss for me? No matter what, it's a good deal for you to exchange an eyeball for a life." A red hole formed by red flesh appeared in the snake lord's left eye, and black blood kept oozing out of the black hole. Therefore, when he was angry, his face became even more ferocious, and the black blood flowed even faster. His face was covered in blood, and even the deck of the ship was covered in puddles of blood. His body trembled violently, and he was so angry that he couldn't even speak. "I'm already like this. I'm already like this. Why don't you believe me?" The snake lord's eyes were bleeding and so was his heart. He felt so wrong that he wanted to cry. "Didn't you just say that others are greedy and cunning? How can you say such a thing? How many snake eyes do you have?" Fang Yan asked. The snake lord gritted his teeth. His teeth were chattering and he felt that he was about to crush his black teeth. All snake lords only have one snake eye, and they can only cultivate this one. At first he didn't understand why his master was the one-eyed scholar, but later he understood that his master was also someone else's snake slave. However, he still didn't know who the master was that could tame his master. The snake's eye was like the legendary Dragon Ball. Of course, the Dragon Ball was hidden in the abdomen, and the useless little snakes could only cultivate one of their eyes into a bead. This was their natal bead, and if it was broken they would die. Of course, Fang Yen didn't know what effect this bead had for the time being. Fang Yen had taken a look just now, and the Snake Lord's snake eye was showing signs of crystallization, which proved that he had indeed cultivated it for decades. If he dug it out and gave it to Fang Yen, it would be the same as destroying his own cultivation. Fang Yen sighed softly and regretfully said, "If only there were two, we could first crush one as an experiment." Chapter 309. Should I crush one for an experiment? I can have two eyes, but I only have one life. If I crush one, I won't be able to keep my life. I don't know if it was anger or pain, but Snake Lord felt dizzy. He felt like he was going to pass out. It seems like you are very sincere. Should I accept your deal? Fang Yen was hesitant. Redmouth. You are Redmouth. Snake Lord gritted his teeth and roared with a mouth full of blood. This time the Snake Lord really fainted. In order to cooperate with Fang Yen, he even gouged out one of his eyes. Moreover, that eye was his primordial spirit snake's eye. Without that eye, he couldn't continue to cultivate, and his cultivation would stop there. What's worse was that the person who had the snake's eye was his master. The master had the power to kill his snake slave. If you don't accept my deal, why the F***ck did you take my snake's eye? What do you want to play? I have nothing now, I really can't afford it. Too immature. Fang Yen was very dissatisfied with Snake Lord's behavior. A deal. Of course we need to talk first, then we can barter. We haven't even finished talking and you already fainted. Are we going to do this deal or not? Also, what is Redmouth? At this time, a clear and loud voice came from the depths of the forest on the lake shore. Redmouth is the devil of Xianxia. He is powerful and has committed many evil deeds. Even the king of poisons, Snake Lord, called you Redmouth and was angered to death by you. This shows your true nature. Fang Yen was overjoyed and shouted, F***, Master, you are here too? Although I don't agree with what you said, I accept your criticism. Master's right. I'm not broad-minded enough, my horizons are not broad enough, and I'm not friendly enough to others. I will definitely change and turn over a new leaf. As Fang Yen spoke, his eyes were still looking around. Because of the dense trees, it was difficult for Fang Yen to find traces of Tianjizi. What was even more strange was that Tianjizi's voice was very loud, but it seemed like only he could hear it. Fang Yen noticed a couple on a boat in the distance. They were chatting and laughing as usual, and he didn't notice anything strange. Clearly, this was a special method of voice transmission. Fang Yen quickly moved his foot away from Snake Lord's neck and said, "How about I give him back his eye? I didn't ask him to dig it out, and he dug it out before I could stop him. It's already a worldly possession, how can I let him put it back on? Then I should give it to Master as a filial piety." "I don't want those evil things that are stained with blood," Tianjizi said. "Since it's already in your hands, you should keep it well. Perhaps it is also a good deed. Also, when did I accept you as my disciple? When have you ever taken me as your master?" "Master and I hit it off the moment we met. The first time I saw you, I felt a sense of familiarity. At that time, I thought that I must make this great and outstanding man my master," Fang Yen said sincerely. "You say? Tianto say? You almost angered me to death. If I didn't have enough willpower, I would have ended up like that Snake Lord. You dare to say you felt like old friends at first sight? Bastard brat, you think you can hide your thoughts from me?" That was a test for Master. Testing Master's cultivation and temperament as well as Master's moral quality. Master was angered but not angry, insulted but not angry. "You performed very well, even better than I expected. You make it sound good. You're trying to learn from my old wood meets spring, right? How can a rotten wood meet spring? When spring comes, the rotten wood will naturally sprout. When will spring come? Depends on the weather. Depends on the heavens' will." Fang Yan's expression was serious, closed his eyes and thought for a while, then said, Master, since you said so, you naturally have a way to deal with this snake lord. Just tell me, I will obey. You already know how to deal with him. He has 3 tribulations of fate with you, fate has yet to end, let him live, Tianjizi sighed. He is also a pitiful person. Fine. Then I will listen to Master. Fang Yan readily agreed. Tianjizi laughed and said, Bastard brat, if you want to be my disciple you will need some luck. Wait until you have the heart of 3 jewels, then it won't be too late. Heart of 3 jewels. Fang Yan panicked and asked, Master, what are the 3 hearts? The heart of bravery, the heart of slaughter, the heart of justice. Fang Yan patted his chest and said, Master, I have them. I have them. Fang Yan unbuttoned his shirt, almost taking out his heart and placing it in front of Tianjizi. To become Fang Yan's disciple he was willing to risk his life. Tianjizi laughed and said, Whether I have them or not is not up to you to decide. It is up to someone else. Who is that someone else? Ask him to examine me. Master, I really do have them. Just accept me and tell me how a rotten wood meets spring. Take care of yourself. Tianjizi laughed and left. Master, you're really leaving? After waiting for a long time he didn't hear Tianjizi's reply. What are you laughing for? I asked you a question but you didn't even want to answer. Do you have the air of an enlightened master? Fang Yan angrily said. He was currently facing a bottleneck, thinking about it day and night, wanting to improve his cultivation. If he could comprehend the rotten wood meets spring technique, he would be able to push down the wall of illusions in front of him and step into the unknown place. That was the world that even the old drunkard was painstakingly searching for. Thinking that he might be able to walk ahead of the old drunkard and Yi Ro, Fang Yan's heart was burning. Bastard! Tianjizi's voice suddenly came. At the same time Fang Yan felt a strong force slapping towards the boat. Fang Yan didn't dare to block it, letting the force blow his boat towards the west bank. Clang! The boat crashed into the stone wall on the shore. Fang Yan had already hugged Zhou Xian, whose sleeping acupoint he sealed in his arms. As for the Snake Lord, with his constitution he probably wouldn't care about such a degree of injury, right? Master, Fang Yan stood on the boat and shouted. No one answered. Master, still no one answered. Fang Yan finally relaxed. That Daoist priest must have really left this time. He's too cunning, he actually backstabbed me. Is there any trust between people? When Zhou Xian woke up he was lying on a bench in the park. The moonlight was cool and the chill was rising from the ground layer by layer. In the dark forest, there were birds and insects chirping, as well as the footsteps and whispers of tourists in the distance. Strangely, there were no mosquitoes. Not a single mosquito or insect appeared around Fang Yan and Zhou Xian. Fang Yan thought for a bit and understood. That was one of the effects of the Snake Lord's eye. Snakes were highly poisonous and the Snake Lord's eye was the king of poisons. Now that it was in the leather bag in his arms, the smell and deterrence it emitted was not something that could be resisted by a few insects. Fang Yan thought that the Snake Lord's eye was really a good thing. If he cut it into 10 or 20 pieces and gave 1 piece to his grandmother, 1 piece to his grandfather, 1 piece to his grandparents, 1 piece to his parents and all his relatives, it would be an excellent medicine to repel mosquitoes and poisons. He just didn't know if the Snake Lord would feel pain. Zhou Qian's long legs were placed on the chair, but her head was resting on Fang Yan's thigh. Her shoulder was covered with a coat. It was the coat that Fang Yan took off. Zhou Qian suddenly jumped up and exclaimed, Toads! So many toads! Fang Yan pressed Zhou Qian down on the chair and said with a smile, The toads are gone. We are safe now. Fang Yan was worried that Zhou Qian would see too many bloody things, so he hit her sleep acupoint before the Snake Lord appeared. When Zhou Qian woke up her consciousness was still the same as before she fainted. The afterimage of the toads was still overwhelming in her mind. Zhou Qian calmed down and looked at Fang Yan with concern. Are you okay? I'm fine. Where are the toads? I drove them away. That's scary. Fang Yan smiled and looked at Zhou Qian. I'll take you back. Zhou Qian was silent for a while, then she stood up happily and said, Okay. The two of them got up and stopped a taxi at the entrance of the park. They rushed to the urban village where Zhou Qian's family lived. They got off at the entrance of the alley. The teacher and student walked toward the same destination one after another. Fang Yan stood at the door of Jiang Qin's courtyard and waited for Jiang Qin to come over. He said with a smile, "Forget what happened today. I won't go in." "What happened today?" Jiang Qin asked with a smile. Fang Yan smiled and said, "I won't see you too often tomorrow. Yuan Lin and I will wait for you in Yanjing after the holidays," Jiang Qin said. "If you don't come, we won't go back." Fang Yan smiled and said, "Then stay in Yanjing for the new year." Hey. Jiang Qin was excited. "Let's go to your house for the new year, okay? Will your parents be very happy? They will say, 'Yo, whose girl is so beautiful, huh?'" Fang Yan shook his head with a wry smile and turned to leave. Jiang Qin stood behind him and shouted, "Mr. Fang." Fang Yan turned around. Jiang Qin shook his arm and said, "Remember to wear the watch." Fang Yan raised his arm and showed the watch given by Jiang Qin. He said, "I'm wearing it." "Good night," Jiang Qin said happily. He opened the door and ran in. On the plane, in business class, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were wearing a black and white sweater, wearing colorful hats and a wide scarf around their necks. They looked like two beautiful dolls. On the whole plane they were the most dazzling. Even the flight attendants couldn't help but look at them a few more times when they were busy. A middle-aged man on the opposite side of the aisle handed over a business card with an amiable smile on his face. He said, "You two girls are cute and have a fresh temperament. If you want to develop in the entertainment industry, I can help recommend you. By the way, I'm the director of All Big Stars. My surname is Huang and my name is Wei." Sisterly grabbed the business card with her chubby hand and said with a bright face, "Are you really a director? Do you think I can go up? I can sing and do Yanko. If you don't believe me, I can sing a song for you first. You can help me test that you're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."